Hey,
Heyo. Welcome to Benchwarmers, a Woso podcast episode.
8.
Did you not know the number?
No, I
No,
forgot.
we're at 8. We are at 8. We
8
are
and
doing it.
remote.
Yes, 8 and remote. We are doing this across the benches. Let's put it like that. That's what it's going to be called now, across the bench, or bench to bench. We have a lot of football to cover, despite us being in different places. Does not mean that the podcast stops. Doesn't mean that the football stops, and doesn't mean that our teams keep destroying us week on week on week, despite winning. We are going to talk about the games that we predicted last week. We're going to talk about Arsenal playing Benfica, a 2-0 victory away, I believe. Allegro predicted a 5-0 win. And as much as I predicted a 3-0 victory, I did say at one point last podcast, either Arsenal win 2-0 and you won't get more than 2, or you concede 1 and bag 4 or 5. So I didn't really trust my prediction that much, but the 2-0 did come and there was nothing more than that. And I want to know, what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I'm happy about the fact that we won. I think that's a positive, obviously, but I am still slightly hesitant to give all my flowers to Renee and to the team. Benfica weren't the opposition that we had seen in previous iterations of the Champions League. I think this is a different Benfica, and they don't have the same manpower. They don't have the same talent. They are a very young squad. So to me, I thought going into this game, and I presumed going into this game, Arsenal thought the same, that they could dismantle this Benfica team. And I think that for all intensive purposes, we look at Portuguese teams and we think their attack is fantastic, but their defense is a bit wobbly. I actually think the opposite this time. I actually think that it was their attack that was a bit lackluster, but their defense was quite steady.
Yeah, I feel like Arsenal have had a little bit of a habit this year of making their opposition defense look miserly, look a bit physical and a bit like overpowering in a way, but usually comes after a sense of adversity and firing relatively early. So if we're looking at that first half, I feel like you do this barrage of attacks. You don't really get the result or the bang for your buck, as a lot of people would say. But the 19th minute, you have Beth Mead standing over a free kick. What were your thoughts as Meadow standing over that?
I'm thinking, okay, yeah, it makes sense, Meadow. I mean, we have other options, but sure. It goes over the wall and it hits the roof of the net, and I go, it looks a bit like a ghost goal. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, okay. At least, I mean, we've never been necessarily the best set piece team in the world.
No.
But I think when it comes down to it, and if we do want to kind of break down teams that are going to be giving us low blocks, it is something that we have to look into when we're looking at trying to get goals from other sources.
Yeah, I think there are definitely players who can benefit from your set pieces. Sadly, a lot of them sit on the bench, to be honest. I think
And we see that later on in the game, obviously, with the second goal.
Exactly right. So in that second half, I feel like the first half was just moments for Benfica. I don't really think I know Diana Silva went on to goal, but I feel like DVD just has that. No one's going to beat her at the near post like that. I didn't think that they had a late chance at the end of the half, but again, DVD's looking a bit more like herself of last year. But it took till the second half for you guys to truly get going. I don't think you probably weren't too stressed at all about what could have been in this game. There wasn't like true adversity.
I think with these like chances, just from what I've seen of Arsenal in recent times, but also just historically, we're a team that may have all those barrages, but it is those moments like the Diana Silva. I always put an extra duh, but no, I think we have those moments where sometimes we go too far up, we get caught on transition. But I think this game, I was very confident that we would get a goal eventually.
Yes.
I just thought, if we come away with this with a nil or draw or even a loss, I think it'd be incredibly damning, to the point in which I think we'd have to start asking questions of the manager. But I was grateful that there was a bit more impetus in the second half.
Yeah, and it showed relatively quickly, only 10 minutes in, where Kim Little doing what she does best at the edge of the box, causing havoc as KCC having her little moment. This is like her probably, I would argue, probably her best moment of the year so far. As she plays it to Russo, who finds Mariona, and then the cross. Mito, I'm kind of like you. I kind of thought that this was an own goal.
Hmm.
But Mito at the back post, a great finish, exactly what she does really, really well. As much as I prefer her to come on at this point and do that and be that back post, like with a bit of extra speed and 2 steps on the player. But again, taking her chance in the 56th minute. Basically, I would argue probably just shattering Benfica's chances. I feel like they thought they could pull out a point or maybe a smash and grab late on, but you've set the tone as Cooney Cross comes off, Mead comes off pretty much straight after their goal, and then Stina and Chloe come on, and these are two incredibly impactful players. And 40 also coming on for Olivia Smith as well with 20 minutes to go. I feel like that's a
I
good
just want to talk
rotation.
about Olivia Smith for a bit. I think recently, coming off the back of just an incredible debut, it's
Yeah.
really hard to back that up. And I have a lot of grace and a lot of time for Olivia Smith. So to me, it's watching her, seeing what she's doing. She may not be getting the same results. There may be some mistakes where you're, shaking your head going, oh, Smith, if you've done that, you've done this. I think it's really difficult for a player who, in my opinion, is told to be instinctive, to be that player that goes out and makes a difference tempo wise, speed wise. I just think you're asking a lot if we're going to critique her of a player that is still growing into the team, into the position.
And settling
And
into the system,
yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of her play kind of is benefited by the fact that you guys are always relatively in possession, loving to transition on that right side. I wonder how Fox feels in comparison, playing with Mito, a bit of a slower, more technical right-sided player in comparison to the rawness and aggressiveness of Smith. Doesn't really allow the same level of overlap for Fox to get into the same positions.
I actually think that with Mead, I actually think that because she knows that Mead is going to defend more, I think Foxy is actually given more agency to go forward. It kind of just
Exactly.
depends whether Foxy wants that. I saw her inverting a lot recently
Yeah.
rather than doing the overlap. So I guess it's more of a system thing as well.
And also, it depends on what you want Katie McCabe to be as well on that left
Mm,
side. She's kind of been held back to be. I feel like she's not overlapping as much as I've seen her prior,
agree.
but in
Yeah.
this game, she had a bit more license too. And I feel like it was going to be a comfortable 1-0 classic Arsenal 90th minute Champions League moment. But then we get a beautiful set piece move,
Yeah.
very smart, very alert, as Kelly plays that ball exactly where you want Russo to be. And it's
Yeah.
really, I mean, not for me, but I'm sure as an Arsenal fan, it's very refreshing to see Russo in the 6-yard box with the ball at her feet, absolutely lacing that ball into the corner.
Even a few minutes earlier, I was commenting about how I think that there needs to be some interrogation on Russo's past form. I
Yeah.
think we're looking for goals
Yeah.
primarily. I don't think that there's any question about where the form needs to come from, and it's that final third. And I think
100%.
I think I'm very hesitant to lay all the blame on one of the generation number nines that we've had.
Yeah.
But for her to get that goal for me is, I think, what will push her on. If anything, actually, I really wanted Marion to get on the score sheet because I said a couple pods ago she
Interesting.
needs a Champions League goal. It's really what spurred on her form last year. She got a goal early in the campaign, and I think from then on, you actually saw her attacking a bit more and putting a bit more impetus in the final third. I
Yeah.
think I'm quite happy that Russo kind of got that goal. It was beautifully worked by Chloe Kelly. You could tell it
Yeah.
was straight off the training field. And Arsenal
Exactly
love a
right.
set piece.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting because I feel like Arsenal is one of the clubs where it is a bit cross-cultural in the way they train. Obviously, you see there's a lot of content regarding like Miles Lewis-Skelly and
Mm.
Kyra Cooney-Cross and that relationship, and it probably transmits even with the fan bases having people with shirts that have both Woso and Menso players on the back at the same time. But it is interesting to see you guys adopt more set piece tactics, similar to your men's side that kind of can't score anything other than set piece tactics.
75%.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I kind of agree with you with Mario, but I think it is harsh because she is playing a new role. She is a lot deeper than she was in seasons prior, at least. But also Kim Little having the license to go forward instead of her and then dropping back. I feel like you just aren't as secure in that midfield hole as you'd like to be to allow Mariona to drift into those attacking positions. I think that this week you're playing Leicester at their home ground. I feel like it's
2 weeks
very,
time, Ben.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
international
2
break.
weeks time.
2 weeks
Sorry,
time.
international break. In 2 weeks, I feel like an international break is exactly what Mariona, exactly what Russo.
I don't know
might
about
need.
that. I don't
Yeah.
know about that because they get played so much by England, by Spain, respectively. That's what the price that you pay about having world-class players. They're going to be playing for their national teams, and
But I don't mean like a fatigue. I'm not talking about a break. You need to stay like active. You still need to be playing 90s or 68s or whatever. But my thing is that it's always a good refresher to have that break and then come back to the league and come up against some weaker opposition like Leicester to be able to punch them, maybe have a 3-0, 4-1, 2 goals for Lessie, 2 goals for midfielders and wingers. And I think that's kind of what I'd be looking at if I was Alessia Russo, is getting on the score sheet against Australia, then having to look into the future games and think about, I mean, Alessia Russo would probably be one of the names up there as a golden boot contender at the start of the WSL, but I don't, other than that West Ham game, I can't really think of a goal that she's burying. And then she's stuck on the right wing playing against certain teams. But yeah, hopefully she gets into those attacking positions more. And I think it's quite impressive when she is in those positions and Arsenal gets to play their best system as a whole. Is there anything else you want to say about Arsenal?
just a quick thing. I think Mariona talking about how we want to improve almost everything. I think that the players are very aware that the form right now isn't great and that they should be expecting more from themselves. I don't think that this is a completely like trust the blind situation. I do think that Renee knows what she has to do. I am still slightly skeptical, but quadruple's still on, Ben. I'll say it until we're knocked out of every competition. Quadruple is still on.
Yeah, I can't wait till you get knocked out of the League Cup. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. Then the treble's on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. We move on to a team that is in pretty good form at the moment.
Unfortunately.
And I mean, yeah, unfortunately for both of us. So Atletico obviously going down 1-0 against Manchester United, who've had a perfect start to the Champions League at this point. Fallon Tullis-Joyce, 0 goals conceded in the Champions League, the only team in the competition left without conceding a goal. I predicted this to be a 2-2 score draw, and you predicted United to win 3-1 with Turlin getting 2. So both of us just not really getting anything right here, and neither of us predicted Rolfo to score.
We should never predict again. It's not like a jinx thing. It's just we're shit.
We're just bad at it.
Yeah.
It's not great. I thought this game, even though it was 1-0, I feel like there were a lot of moments that are very good insight into how United are spreading the load so well. And this is exactly why they signed Fridolina Rolfo, right? So these are the moments that you're thinking to yourself, who's going to step up in this game? Who's going to be the kicker? And you think it's going to be Turlin, you think it's going to be Mallard. Mallard had heaps of chances. Tooney had chances. Rolfo had an early chance. But ultimately, the reality is someone's got to get on the sheet for them, and it was Rolfo ripping this ball into the roof of the net after Olme whips a peach to Tooney, and then it falls to the back post, and Rolfo with her right foot, which is also weird, smashing it into the roof of the net. It's an interesting game because there were moments that are going to be talked about for the rest of the year. So obviously we can talk about before this goal, about 8 minutes before this goal, there's some beautiful link up between Garcia and Luani, and Fiamma Benitez on the edge of the box, who I predicted to score the armor. Yeah, this was the moment. And then Maya Letizier's blocked this ball on the line because you actually screenshot when she's blocked it. There are 8 United players inside the box within 15 minutes. And this shows their transition game. So this is the Skinner ball tactic, right? So having the deepest of deepest banks of 4 to be able to spread out and attack shows how fit they are. They are so conditioned, so well coached to be able to break out from this quick 2 banks of 4 to be able to transition and then create these open, expansive opportunities for their fullbacks to just have easy pickings, easy goals at the back post for Rolfo and Ziggiotti and Mallard linking up. Mallard definitely should have had 2 in this first half. I think it was crazy work from them to create all these amazing chances. And then the game changes, right? So this is the moment that everyone's talking about, this Jensen challenge on Gio. What did you think on first watch when you saw this tackle?
Like everyone else, I was a bit confused. Yeah. I think you are initially looking at where Janssen is tackling versus the reaction of Gio. I think you obviously we now know that it's a pretty severe injury. I think recognizing that it was pretty last ditch, recognizing that it had a greater like ramification for Gio. I don't necessarily think it was a straight red, but I think that there were calls for a yellow, definitely. I saw people online even saying there's no challenge there. I think there was a challenge. but no, I think yellow, and I think best of wishes to Jer, because that's a hard injury to come back from.
Yeah, it's really tough. I think on first watch, I didn't think it was too bad. And I think this is why people hate VAR so much is because when you look at it on second effort with the other angle and it's slow motion, you can see there are 2 bouts of contact. It's not serious foul play, personally. I don't think it's excessive force. I still wouldn't have given it a red. I don't think there's any... Yeah, reckless is yellow. Reckless is only yellow. And I personally felt it to be harsh. That being said, I was pretty happy. I thought this was the way back in. But still, this is where basically players have to step up, right? So when you're 10 men and you're 1-0 up, you either set up deep or you trust your goalkeeper. And my God, if Fallon Tullis-Joyce wasn't the shoe-in for keeper of the season so far, this game cemented that. So Gabby Garcia headers it across the box. Big chance on the line, huge scramble. She picks it up. She gets kicked in the face like 3, 4, 15 times by different players, but she's holding onto the ball and no one's getting rid of it. Like, the confidence you must have if you're a United fan and your goalkeeper to just mop everything up is just immense. And I think that's probably the feeling you had last year with DVD. It was the feeling I had for half a season with Kiara Keating. But no, it's no longer those days anymore. The second half was just United regressing and trying to keep the 1-0, which is totally fair. And Victor Martin got this absolutely right. But the players just couldn't convert. They were playing territory on the flanks. They were playing deep, darted, drilled balls across the box, which Tullis-Joyce doesn't like, right? They're the ones that she parries away and then ends up with a goal. As much as Boa Risa and Luani can link up, and like there's so many moments in this second half where you think Atletico are going to break back in, but it just doesn't happen, right? And then Leah Galton comes on, who is immense defensive cover and support. To have that experience and depth on your bench still playing a pivotal role for United in big games is exactly what you want her to be. And then she actually ends up playing this amazing, amazing ball later on, but we'll get to that eventually, because we have to talk about the fact that the player numbers actually equaled at the 74th minute as the right back for Atletico, Alexia Fernandez, decides to get 2 yellows in 20 minutes with the stupidest sliding challenge, and then complains that she gets the red when she's fully taken out that tackle. And that was kind of it, really, is that once it was 10 men, it's so much harder to break down when it's 10v10, and they're still playing that 2 banks of 4. Skinner ball holds up defensively again. And then there was a moment where Mallard really should have made it 2, because Galton does this chase down tackle on Luani. Think about the fact that Galton's in her mid-30s. Luani is this 22-year-old primed super sub. Well, not super sub in this game, but just being a menace all year on the wing. And then she sends Mallard through perfectly from the tackle to the ball over the top. she's 1v1 with the keeper basically, and she sprays it because this is the Mallard we know. This is the Mallard that we're used to, right? Taking 4 or 5 chances a game, not scoring anything. That's how I've seen Melvine Mallard, and I think that will be more of the year than what she's done in the first 5, 6, 7 games of the season. But again, a very happy United as they remain without blemish in the Champions League after 2 games. And it's sad as a City fan watching this team do relatively well, but I'm hoping they draw some actual opposition relatively soon and we start to see their real side. Their first 2 games, they've played the 2 pot 3 sides. Now it's time to play the real teams.
Yeah, I agree. I think coming off of this game, I think United have a really interesting run in the league. I think that it'll be interesting to see how they balance multiple competitions. I think Atletico is struggling with that now.
Yeah.
I don't actually think United will have the problem. I think they just have the depth. And I think that the style of play is conducive to squad sustainability, if anything. And I don't love Skinner. I don't love Manchester United, but there's no way for us to get around the fact that they're arguably the second best English team playing consistently right now. And yeah.
Ooh, who's number 1?
Chelsea. It's Chelsea and United, and I hate to say it.
Yeah,
and I do. I
it
hate
is
to say it.
crazy. But
Like, would I want it to be Arsenal? Yes. Am I delusional? Sometimes, but I'm not about this point. Like, it's very, I can confidently say that United, and it's close. It is close.
yeah.
So
I think it is definitely going to be an interesting look. So we have about 2 weeks till the next bout of Champions League games. Their next 3 games are PSG, who I backed them in to win, but then Wolfsburg and then Lyon. So there is definitely some tough opposition there. I think Wolfsburg will definitely look to pounce on them. I don't know if they'll break through, but
I think
Lyon will be a big humbling. I think that's what I'm hoping, because I believe you guys are more defensively sound than them, especially in Europe, and it'll be a bit more of a level change in comparison to the teams that they've faced. The other fraud off, this was the big fraud off.
I was watching this game on my computer same time as the Arsenal game.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that if I wasn't paying attention closely to this game, I would have thought that these 2 halves were completely different teams. Like they had swapped at halftime, because it is a real game of 2 halves. This one.
There was a huge momentum shift. I just want to mention our predictions again, because this is hilarious. Because Leggy said 4-0 to Real Madrid with a Caroline Weir double. And I said 3-1, which isn't bad, but I said Athenea and Caicedo would be the culprits of the goals, when we were just so wrong, because, I mean, this is not the game I expected at all.
It was so poor. Technically, it was really poor. Seeing the juxtaposition between the game that was on my computer and the one that was on my big screen, I could see that there was a real technical difference. I honestly think that Real Madrid are the better team, so I think they deserve the 3 points. But I think PSG made them look really crappy, honestly, if you're going to like put it in those terms. It was the poor passing, just not Champions League standard, in my opinion.
No, definitely not. But also, it's again, we're talking about the same symptoms every week with PSG. Is that if you create chances, someone's got to put the ball in the net. Yeah. You can have Mariona making save after save after save, which she did in the first half. So other than the first 8-9 minutes where PSG had them ping back really deep, having players like De Almeida taking long shots in the 8th minute, that is not the player you want on the ball, shooting the ball. Like a right back should not be taking anything like that. Having Ajibade hugging the byline that's your best finisher right there. You can't use her pace like that if she needs to be the one in the middle finishing goals. It seems like they don't know who their best finisher is. They don't know where they need to be in order to get the best results out of their players. And I don't know, they're not Barcelona. You don't have fullbacks who score like strikers. You need to stop inverting for long shots and allow your formation that your manager has given you to flourish, which doesn't happen, because then your other team wakes up and Fella gets a great whip from Ribeiro on the left wing, and your defensive structure falls when your fullbacks don't have any sort of capacity to stick with these really fast wingers that Madrid have. And that left side just got completely exposed because it was two goals in about 20 minutes. Fella scoring the first one and then assisting the second one, playing it to Weir, and then Merps makes the save. And then again, Samora, too late to the ball, rebound to Redondo. It was 2-0 in the first half. I feel like this game's done, right?
Yeah, well, from my perspective, watching it, I was like, okay, well, this is a comfortable Real Madrid victory. And I think even, listening to the comms as well, my favorite commentator was on.
Yeah.
And he was saying basically like this is a PSG team that looks underprepared. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think PSG looked really just completely out of their depth.
Yeah.
They looked like they hadn't played Champions League before, which is obviously a lie. and they had. And I think that the players that they played particularly weren't suited for the type of football that they wanted to play. And I think this formation, and I understand they want to stick with this 3-5-2, I get it. But sometimes like it just doesn't work. And it's against Real Madrid, it didn't work at all in that first half.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, she does come on later in the 90th minute, but someone like Luchta, like, do you think she could have, I mean, would it change any outcome?
No,
I'm not saying she's like dynamite or anything, but is it a more fearful 9 to have than the structure that they had in that first half? I don't know. Kanjinga's not, like, Kanjinga is a good player, but she is young, she is raw. There isn't patterns of play that I'm looking for where you're going to put her in her best position to score in that game. Even though when they had the momentum in that second half, they can't put the ball in the net. Like Karchawi's whipping the ball in time and time again, and Carr has this chance in the scramble, but again, it's a centre half at the back post in the wrong position for her body to be able to score this goal, and then ends up with another corner. They finally get Ajibade at the back post with a nice header. Like, it's hilarious because it's an ex-Atleti player also scoring against Real. A bit of bad blood there, but again, it's just not the chances after they scored weren't good enough. Kanjinga, another chance to whip the ball across the box. It's not good enough. Luchta has one chance off the bench from the 90th minute. I thought she should have probably come on earlier than the 90th, but I just think PSG are one of those teams that are a little bit of fodder and breakfast for a few of the more serious sides in the Champions League who are looking at the knockout stages, especially teams like Madrid and United. They're going to look at the knockout stages as opportunities to expand and promote their capacities for next year even, right? United won't be a pot 3 side if they keep going like this. This is the kind of game that this is the kind of part of the season where United and Madrid are going to plant their flag in the Champions League and say, we're here to stay. And it's wins like this that definitely show the rest of Europe that they're a serious outlet to not take for granted, and definitely don't take lightly when you come up against them.
I think with PSG, I think they're very wedded in their ways. I think that they play the type of players that they play because of the fact that they suit the style that they want to play. So this run and kick, this whip it and hope, this basically a style of football that is heavily dependent on the athleticism of their players. And that's not always a bad thing, but it's something that can be caught out very quickly, especially when technically you're not as good as your opposition. And I just think that the Real Madrid players were smarter than the PSG players.
Yeah, no, 100%. It definitely showed a lack of mentality. I just think it's funny that like you have ex-pros like Kelly O'Hara going, it's shocking that PSG are 0 points from two Champions League games.
That just goes to show that I feel like a lot of the names of these clubs. I think if you're Kelly O'Hara, you're probably viewing PSG as a team that was in Champions League finals, semi-finals, were, part of the French wave, if you will, of
Gioro, like this is not the same era. This doesn't exist. We have their marquee players are Karchawi, who is kind of a shell of herself without the support around her, and the player that was supposed to be a big talking point in this game in Olga Carmona, who we haven't even mentioned yet, because I can't really think of a notable moment in this game that she had. Yeah,
I can.
And what was that?
It was the shocking passes centrally. It was the just unwillingness to go forward at times. It was the reluctance to really put like stake your claim in this PSG team.
Yeah.
I think more than a
Against your
player,
old side as well.
yeah, more of a player. She's a leader.
Yeah.
She was Real Madrid's captain.
Mm.
She was, part of the Spain leadership as well. And I find it a bit disappointing, because you have a player who has so much potential and is still, relatively young.
Mm.
And to see her go from, a second best team in a league that you're never going to win
Yeah.
to PSG, who was supposed to be that second best team, and they're not even that anymore. They're a shell of the team that they were in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's also this is this is the waves and movements of football, right? You have good players, better teams will take those players off you, and sometimes I mean, I was thinking when Olga left to PSG, I was thinking how are they going to replace that left side? But their left side's looking even stronger without them. It's a big statement win from Madrid to say, hey, you left the project to go to a different project, and our project is more successful and is newer and is fresher and hungrier than yours. And I think that's pretty impressive. But that's all. I mean, I mean, we were talking about this game as a fraud off. I think Real Madrid come out of this game looking a team to take seriously and not to write off.
Well, I think it's kind of like these last two games, the Atleti game and the United game, and then this game. It's kind of like a best of game. It's
Yeah.
like who is the best of the rest.
Yeah.
And I think right now it is between Real and United. It's disgusting to say.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
It's
What
terrible.
a Woso world we live in, where these marquee teams in Menso are actually becoming good in
It's like
Woso.
90s, it's like 90s
90s
Mensos.
ball, yeah.
Ugh.
Take me back to 1999, right? Another staple and institution in Europe in Bayern Munich, who got fully bailed out. The German team's getting bailed out in the Champions League. Oh my God. So this game, I predicted 4-0 Bayern. You predicted 4-1. So you got the one for
I
the
got the
Juve goal,
consolation.
the
Yeah.
consolation goal, which is impressive. But it was not Girelli. I said Schuller would get a goal, which is good, and that will come later. And I said Tanikawa as well, but Tanikawa just wasn't the same. Or didn't really play much in this game, if I'm not mistaken. But again, first half, I was thinking to myself, when this ended, I was watching this game and I was like, how the hell is this game 1-1? Because ultimately, Clara Bull and Pernille Harder were absolutely
Yeah.
murdering Juventus. It's actually insane how well they link up with each other. I felt like we're in 2022 again. Oh my God. The Clara Bull just finding her in the near post was basically all the foreshadowing we needed in that eighth minute to know that this forward line was going to mean serious stuff. But it doesn't look as serious when you watch Stanway trying to absolutely pop shots from 30 yards.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous sometimes.
It's the Stanway special. She does this. I feel like every time Bayern need an extra goal, they like all turn to Stanway collectively and go, just ping it.
Just ping it.
It's such an English thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Kira Walsh does the same, but I think this game will obviously be remembered for the infamous ending.
Yeah.
But I think before that, I think there was a game there. I think Juventus, you said earlier, I mean, how was it only 1-0?
Yeah.
I think Juventus did the incredibly Italian thing and it held their block.
Yeah,
And they
very miserly.
They knew when to attack, but they also knew when to defend. And I think that the defense for Juve has been really shaky in the league. But I think the formation that they put out, I think the players that they put out were incredibly experienced. And I think that's what mostly shone through.
Yeah, but that two banks of four, right? So when Stanway's taken pot shots from 30 yards, it's so much more impressive when a minute later she has in the same spot and then she sprays it across to Bull. It's faster, it's more high percentage chance. And then Bull whips it across to Pernille, who I actually think would go down as one of the most underrated aerial threats in the front three. I think she never gets rated for her heading in that way.
Well, it's always because Eriksen's the one
Yeah, exactly. It's Eriksen, and then they brought in Vanessa Gilles this year as well. You're looking at different players in that front line. Even Leah Schuller with her head is very good. But Pernille Harder is just different gravy. That header near post was great. 1-0. They've had 4 chances by 10 minutes. So you think they're just going to rip them apart. Bull keeps going, whips it to Tanikawa, who heads it onto the crossbar. Dahlmann's follow-up was blocked by Estella, basically a goal line block. Brilliant defending. Keeps it 1-0 until basically Juve get their first chance of the game. They get a free kick about 25 yards out. And Eva Schatzer, this free kick is absolutely immense. I think this is better than Wilms's free kick. It's not as powerful, but my God,
The
the
placement,
swaz
yeah.
into the
Yeah.
top right corner with her left foot. I think it's because she's left-footed. I think I like it just because she's a lefty. I'm
Yeah.
such a lefty supremacist. But no chance for Gross to save that. My God. And it was 1-1. And then this is where your miserly Italian ball comes in, because Juve definitely wanted a point and deserved a point. Stanway
Yeah, I
hits the
agree.
crossbar from a volleyed long shot. Bull finds harder again. She misses again. And the second half is just so sad because Leah Schuller comes on in the 58th. Tanekawa comes off, who had a good cameo, but just didn't go her way. Another day she has a brace. But there is really nothing to see in this second half. There are 2 shots on target all the way till the 90th minute. Yeah, so depressing second half to watch until it gets more depressing. So obviously the moment of the game, the moment everyone has been talking about all week, is when Julia Gwynn has this overlapped ball on the right-hand side. She whips it in to Aaliyah Schuller, who is somehow between her and the keeper. No one's really near her, 5 yards out. It's the one player I'd be marking. And then she lobs Peru Magnon. On the ball rolls onto the line, and then you have Matilda Harviken, the Norwegian international, 23-year-old for Juve, who scurries, saves this ball on the line. You think she's just saved a point for Juve. It's one of the most unbelievable defensive efforts you'll see all week. And you think she saved it. The ball goes out of play, and then our gods of VAR intervene. The Bayern campus VAR gods say that the ball has
no
crossed
goal
the
line,
line. Yeah.
but no goal line tech.
No,
And that's the
yeah.
thing.
It's
I think ostensibly, if you do not have goal line technology and you cannot see that it is a goal, you cannot reward it a goal. If there is no clear, like, cut view of the ball going over the line, I mean, from what I could see, it was pretty much a shadow game. You know, it was basically like where was the ball over which line, like what was going on. It was all about perspective. I think at the end of the day, this was a robbery, basically.
it's crazy. It's crazy watching this like ball roll. There's no clear cut. Like we have it, like in Australia, we have in our Australian Football League, we have what we call the no, not clear enough evidence to be able to overturn a decision, right? VAR, as much as they have VAR in the Champions League, they don't have the goal line tech. But everyone who talks about VAR and its introduction into football has said it has to be clear and obvious. This was not clear. This was not obvious at all.
No.
And obviously, I'm very happy for Leah Schuller because she's a player who I love, and I think if she just could string her best together for a season, she'd be one of the best strikers in the world.
Agree,
But
yeah.
this is so painful for Juventus, who had been defending so well for so long, to get done by basically inept, incompetent supporting cast in the assistant referee department. I think this is just really sad. And I don't like going after referees as a former referee, but I do think the reason that this is not a goal is because the on-field referee did not call it a goal straight away. That was the biggest cue, is that if she knew it was a goal and she knew it was over the line, she would have seen it. She was in the perfect position to see this. She didn't call it. She let VAR take control of it, which is natural. That's what happens when you introduce VAR, is you realize that you can make a decision that can be overturned. But the reality is that she didn't call it straight away because she knew that VAR would make the decision for her. And that's really harsh. But again, this is what happens when you introduce ways to rely for a referee. I do want to mention that Juve did have a corner in the 97th and nearly forced an equaliser in, but Gruus made a good save, and that was kind of it. Very sad 2-1 win for Bayern. The German team's definitely getting bailed out by technology that the Woso game used to not have not long ago, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that I don't think this is where we go, okay, now we scrap VAR. Because I think that the mistakes made by referees have far outweighed the mistakes made by VAR. I do think, though, that there needs to be across the board with VAR just a a real recognition and an understanding of kind of where it steps in and then where the humans and the referees step in. So me, I asked the question of what's happening with the linesmen. Are they not seeing the ball not cross the line? I feel like a year ago, 2 years ago, I wonder what would have happened with this goal. And I think that's the disappointing part for Juventus.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like we have slightly differing opinions on VAR. For me, unless it's objective. So firstly, goal line tech should be a part of Woso as a whole. Like there should not be a single football game played at the top level, especially in the Champions League, that doesn't have goal line tech. I am so happy to scrap any subjective measures of VAR. I really do. The same way I can watch Bunny Shaw miss an open header from 5 yards out, referees get things wrong. But the same way we go to Sunday League and we watch football every week, the same way that players go to watch their best players at the Joey Stadium or the Emirates Stadium, it doesn't matter. The referee has the control of the game, and I'm so happy for them to make decisions, get things right, get things wrong. Yes, it will suffer. Yes, it's hard, but that's football. It's not always black and white. It's not always perfect. If it were perfect, then we'd go to games and it would be 25-25 because players wouldn't miss and referees wouldn't get things wrong. And I think it's great to have something like goal line technology to sort out these ones where it's very obviously either over the line or not, but ones where it's like penalties. The ref knows in the moment when they're watching in the context of what they see, they can see it. I believe in them wholeheartedly. I believe in the systems at play to allow referees to stop blunders, if that's what we want to call them, the really, really bad ones. But I don't think they happen as much as people say. And I think that this is one in particular where there is an objective truth to whether the ball went over the line or not, and you can't really see it, and they still overturned it. So it's really harsh.
I just think I've seen the women's game way too much, and I've seen all the blunders that have happened, and it's like,
You're
well,
a bit more scarred by
yeah, basically.
Yeah, no, I think there is. I mean, we're going to have to live with VAR. There's no changing that 100%. But I just think it does ease the pressure on the referee to be able to lean onto VAR that same way. I think that's all we have for Europe. As we move to England, the League Cup, my team was in the League Cup playing Newcastle United in a 3-3 thriller at Gateshead. This game was weird, wacky. My brain was frozen. I hated and loved minutes all across this 90 and the penalty shootout. Some crazy moments, though. Notably, Newcastle's opener, oh my God, Lois Joel, that smack 10 minutes in. I was not ready for that strike, and I don't think Chiara Keating was either, as she did her best Manuel Zinsberger impression.
Hey, no, we can't say that anymore. We can't. No, all condolences to Manu and that ligament that is torn right off the bone.
Yeah.
That's I'm so sorry.
But it was a bit of a
offend her anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I can still say it because she's definitely frozen in time now. But yes, that was a really good strike from Joel, but no adversity. I mean, even like I mean, I'm not saying she should have dived for it or she could have saved it, but Chiara Keating, we'll talk about her in this game because I feel like,
well, it was a rotated squad, no?
Yes,
like, there were changes.
100%. And I think this was the kind of game that she would come in for 100%. Coombsy comes into this game. Lazelle as well, getting a few minutes from her bout and stint of injuries across the last season. But the small chances we had across the first half were pretty average. I think Fugino had a moment, Bunny had a moment, Benet had a moment, but none of them were special until stoppage time. And I feel like there was a little bit of a theme across this week where a lot of teams got some stoppage time goals like late on in that first half, which if you talk to many coaches around the grounds, they'd say the best time for anyone to equalize is just before halftime. And that's what we did as Iman Benet on the right wing this game, as she just continues to be the Swiss chameleon that I adore, finds Laura Coombs, who wellies a low driven into the bottom left corner, exactly what we needed. Benet actually wins a 50-50 before she passed it across against Demi Stokes, classic new blood City, destroying former City. And then
it's actually a habit now. I feel like there are so many of your ex-players who just come and they just want to kill you guys.
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
very, very sad. I'm so glad we're not in the Champions League playing against Madrid, watching Caroline Weir drop a brace on us. That would be so sad. But yes, a very good time to score. And I thought we'd go into this second half with all the confidence in the world. And we did, right? So the flow state began on that right side. So I was watching this right side of Naomi Lazel, Fujino, and Bene, who Bene comes a bit deeper in this half as we overloaded on that right side with Hasegawa there as well. Watching Lazel, Fujino, Bene, and Hasegawa is basically the perfect glimpse of the next 5 years of me supporting my team, because that's what I want the right side to be. As much as I love Kasparai, I feel like Kasparai, if she keeps playing like this, she's just incredible. But I wonder what Lazel's future is for our club if she's not going to get the minutes on that right side. If she can play on the left side, amazing. But I don't know what her route in Manchester City colours looks like. But
She'll always have that game against Barca,
oh
you know?
my God, man of the match against Barcelona, 2-0.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that day. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it better than Lazel does, I think. But Bene is a late arriver to a Fujino ball, and then Hasegawa makes her deep attacking run. It's beautiful. It's immense. Bene gets a second assist as Hasegawa smashes it into the net for her third goal of the year. So she is getting into more attacking positions
I
this
think
year.
this was a great goal that kind of indicates why Hasegawa should be playing higher up the pitch in both of our opinions. The build up she is necessary for in some instances, but I also think that she can be that final piece if you need, a goal from outside the box, or you need, just what Mary Fowler was doing basically in that 10.
100%. And the question will be when Mary comes back, how that midfield mix works. I think personally that if we want Hasegawa to be that 8 with late darting attacking runs, then someone's got to hold, and that person is Sydney Lohman. Her minutes are a bit limited this year, but I feel like she'll get pockets and time to explore her role in this season soon enough, as we make Newcastle United's goalkeeper very, very, very stressed in the 63rd minute, because Bunny wins a corner against 2 Newcastle defenders, and then this corner is so badly dealt with. Oh my God, I felt bad for Claudia as she parries the ball straight up in the air and then tries to catch it and then fumbles it into her own net. And I'm watching this game, it's 3-1. I think it's done. We've won. It's comfortable. We'll sit. We'll knock the ball around for a bit of Yeglert's ball watching. But I was wrong, because the last 10 minutes of this game is really exposing the dangers of Yeglert's ball and how to expose us, really. Because when we are knocking the ball about and trying to end these games, we get so tight, so narrow defensively, and we give so much separation and space to these wingers, and they expose that, right? So Freya Gregory was on the edge of the box. Emily Murphy finds her, and Kasparai gives her space, and she strikes this left foot smasher, goes past Keating. I didn't think Keating could have saved this, so I don't think it's really her fault.
No, I blame Kasparai.
Yeah, it's definitely
Kasparai,
it's definitely
100%.
Kasparai. And as much as she's had an amazing year on the attacking side of things, her defensive work's been good, but this is something that we have seen her do in a Dutch shirt a lot. She gives so much separation to the winger. She does that weird jockey that I hate. Oh my God, it's so
It's
silly.
like she's, you know what though? No, you know what? I blame youth coaching for this.
Yeah,
I
okay,
do.
go on.
Okay,
Give me a clip. You rip into youth coaches. Here we go.
Yeah, because even I do it, coaching, you teach your players to jockey, to, knees down, knees low, in that spot position. And you know what? I blame the Dutch youth system, which is something you'd think you'd never say.
Yeah,
Which
blame the Dutch youth system for this stupid EFL Subway Cup goal. My God. But she just stays so low and she doesn't get near the player. It's a good strike, but my God, it felt like we were asking for it. And then the comeback was on, and in the 90th minute, the last player you want popping up with the ball is Jordan Nobbs, who finds Murphy. Murphy turns Blinky. This was the worst moment for Blinky all year, who's been pretty much not put a foot wrong this whole time. She gets sent to shops left and right. And then this shot from 25 yards is such a rubbish shot. And it hits.
It's also the most Arsenal goal as well.
Oh my God.
Like...
I could, I could see Kim Little striking this ball. It bounces off Stina and goes in. Yeah, that's the you got Stina Blackstenius.
I was going to say, no, this is a very Jordan Nobbs Arsenal goal.
Oh, maybe, yeah, even that. But it's not her because it bounces off Shania Hales.
Yeah.
And this is what I like to call a Chariots of Fire goal, where you play the music and you just watch as the ball gets slower every time you watch it. And Kiara is trying to run over to this ball that's been deflected and dived. And it's just sad for everyone involved. It's sad for Jordan Nobbs, who should have probably got a goal for it. It's sad for Kiara Keating, and it's sad for Manchester City, who I thought were basically done in this game because, I mean, it's a League Cup group stage format. This is a weird thing, right?
But I see, this was interesting because I was watching this game, but I wasn't watching it. I was just watching it on football. Yeah. So I went back and I was watching it and I was thinking, I thought this was a knockout game. No. I just had the same impression that it was a knockout game. I completely forgot, mind you, this is because I'm an Arsenal fan and we don't go through these stages of group stages in a League Cup. No, I thought it was originally a knockout. So then I was like, 3-3, and then thank God we went straight to penalties. Yeah. Please, I am a advocate for no extra time.
No FA Cup replays.
No, just get on with it. FA Cup replays that's a completely different argument.
No, but I'm saying like, imagine they had like EFL Cup replays. That would be horrendous. But ultimately, so we're in a league format. We needed this point to automatically qualify. The pens, so it was a penalty shootout for an extra point. And basically, I want to give like my commendations to both sides for actually taking penalties seriously, not missing them like trash. But I also want to thank the goalies for being trash so that they score. So we're going to go through each penalty with one-liners about each pen.
Okay, sure.
Hale's first pen. Keating probably could have got there on a good day, but good pen. Happy. Caspi, great pen. No chance for the goalie. Moan, absolutely no chance. Manion, ridiculous penalty to the top right corner. Then Hasegawa goes top left. Beautiful penalty. Perfection. Then this is where we start the I send Kiara Keating the wrong way train. So Lumsden sends Keating the wrong way. Then Bunny, who I don't understand if you have that leg, how you don't just welly the ball as hard as you can. She just passed it in the net. And I don't know how Moan doesn't save this.
I love that. I respect it.
It's the most shitty pen I've ever seen.
I love it.
Then Murphy keeps the train going, sends Keating the wrong way. Then Alex Greenwood, a player who I also thought is a fantastic penalty taker, who is so lucky as Moan parries it into the bottom right side netting. Made it perfect height for her to save, but she didn't save it, luckily. Jordan Nobbs sends Keating the wrong way, but basically passes it down the middle and Keating dives. What are you doing? And then Viv, absolutely fantastic penalty. Best thing she's done all year.
No, she's great at penalties.
Yeah, no, she's a ripper penalty taker. She literally went up. I think her facial she was like, pressure, what pressure kind of vibe. She was so unbothered.
It reminded me of, do you remember the games that happened in Perth?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my days. Jesus, that's so true. It's like the most meh penalty shootout of all time for her. Yeah. And then Freya Gregory hits this penalty down the middle, bar and in. Keating dives, again, sent Keating the wrong way ×4. And then Uwabi. So if I thought Greenwood was lucky, Uwabi passes the ball to the bottom left. It's parried by Moan. It goes onto the post and still ends up in the goal, which is ridiculous. I feel so bad for Moan because she's parried 4 of these pens, but none of them have ended up saved. And then Demi Stokes comes up and Kiara points to her right, which is camera left. She dives to the right. perfect height for her to save, and she saves it. Haunted by your old club, get wrecked as Blinky comes up and smashes it into the bottom right. No chance for Moan to save it. Extra points secured as we will qualify for the knockout stage of the League Cup, alongside Liverpool and West Ham, who are all going to qualify into that knockout stage. The last team who are qualifying are Leicester, who ended up beating London City Lionesses, knocking London City Lionesses out of the Subway League Cup.
I think this is the best news to come out of this weekend of football.
It is pretty amazing that this is a moment where no matter how much you spend, no matter how many 30-year-olds you have, you are still going to get beaten by a team that has 18 first team players. It is crazy. If you put your mind to something and your heart in the right place, some things just might go your way. And that's what happened for Leggy and I this week.
I just think that it's really interesting, right? Because the question obviously for London City and their fans is how much effort do we put in these trophies, these cups? And I don't necessarily think that promotion is secured, or sorry, staying in the league is secured. But I do think there is something to be said about wanting to stay in consistent form in the league. I personally, I would want to be going on a cup run if I were Michelle Kang, because I want to be seeing my investments come off. But, you know, I mean, this is a team that touted themselves to be Champions League contenders. You know, they can't even beat a second-rate Leicester team. So, yeah, at this point.
I mean, sometimes I just hear her talk and I think it is exactly that. It is talk. And it does show, like we were talking about LCL earlier in the year as a team that can't finish games because they're so old. But this is the last few weeks have shown anything but that. It's that they can't start games. And Rental, she smashed the ball into the roof of the net early on for Leicester's first attack, first goal. It stayed 1-0 the whole game. But how many chances did LCL have in the end of the first half, the start of the second half, whether it was Maria Perez's long shot, Alana Kennedy had a fluff chance at the back post.
She keeps having these, by the way.
Yeah.
There's so many chances where she's in the box and she does the most Alana Kennedy thing in the world.
It's just terrible long shot after terrible long shot. Good to see Katie Zellum is alive. She took a long shot, forcing a low parry from Olivia Clark, who had a fantastic game. My God, 6 or 7 saves for Leicester as they promote. They're the last team that get into the knockout stages. But Kennedy just having taps. Paris had a dribbler across the box that was late as she screamed like a maniac when she missed, which is pretty the most Nikita Paris.
It's the most Paris thing.
Yeah, the most Nikita that's ever Parised. But LCL just doing better late on in games, but just not enough. And Foxes trying to secure a point. And that's all they had to do was get 1 point, and they secured that very easily. But there's not much else I really have to say about this game other than the fact that, is this an indicator of better things forward for Leicester? Do you think that they have, I mean, not that they have excessive amounts of quality, but their system and structure held up? That 3 at the back was very miserly as they conceded a barrage of chances. Corrales as well creating opportunities, and Jana Fernandez being pretty good across the game again. But again, it's Leicester being a team that's hard to break down now is very impressive, and that can be conducive of league form. So when you come up against teams that are more your level, it's harder for you to break down. Obviously, it's going to be sad they come back from the international break against your lot, but could you see them get some sneaky results against teams that are their level?
I think Leicester's main problem the whole time has been their attack. I don't necessarily think they have the worst defense in the world. I mean, they haven't conceded many when they have lost.
Yeah.
I think their main problem is their offense. I don't know if necessarily they'll get many results against the top teams. I think the top teams maybe right now, because we're not seeing a lot of those bigger wins. I think the biggest win for the league has been the 4-1s.
Yeah.
So the 4 goals. But I honestly, I think this is more damning than LCL.
Yeah.
I still think West Ham will go down, but I think London City now have to look back and go, we have a team that comparatively, if we look at their starting 11 and their second team, I don't actually think there's a lot of change there when it comes to quality.
No.
And I just think that across the board, it's just inconsistencies, heads down. I think that this is a project that really needs players to buy in, and I don't think they're buying in necessarily.
Yeah, emphasis on the buy-in
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of them I could see checking out and seeing different, not different avenues for the older guys, but the younger crop of players, if they want to be a part of a project where they want to be serious in developing their football accolades. That's the kind of thing that I get worried about, is that there are these older players, they've won their trophies, they've won their accolades. It's the younger players like Goodwin and what's her name, Corrales, and I don't know. I mean, like Jana is a player who could definitely win more. I don't know. I just think to myself, like,
It's either, I think this is either, right, like the unfulfilled promises of these older players kind of, it's basically like these older players are trying to reconcile the fact that throughout their careers, they didn't necessarily have the investment and they didn't go to a team that had that environment and that emphasis on women's sport and women's led football.
Yeah.
And then for the younger players, I'm really thinking that this is kind of like a jumping off point for their careers, whether they had a stunted start because they were in teams like the ex-Arsenal players like Jana, who just couldn't get into those teams. And then they can now go on to do better things. I think, for example, Jana, after this season, will probably be seen in a greater light because I think that she will be the standout in a team that probably comes second or third.
The jewel in the crown of a struggling side in the WSL, who hopefully stays up for their sake. We're gonna vamos classic to the Liga F as we look at an very interesting Barcelona side. Obviously, the streets stay the same, but the names definitely change as they beat Granada 2-0, only a cheeky 2-0. This is pretty actually a weird result for Barcelona because
underwhelming result, if you will.
But it is the best indicator that we've seen all year of the future of Barcelona, as there is no Lexi, no Aitana in this game.
And no Patri.
And no Patri as well, due to injury. And it was Caro's 200th game, which is very, very impressive.
And I heard that she will resign. I heard that.
Yeah, and that's
from my sources.
And that's I trust Leggy's sources, and I hope she doesn't leave because, I mean, where would she go other than, I mean, Leon? I can't see her going anywhere else.
That is disgusting. Why would you even posit
Yeah,
that?
I know. It's disgusting because no one else can afford Caro. That's what I'm thinking, is that no one else is going to buy into that. Other than an early Granada chance where Gemma Font, also Caracol not playing, Gemma Font in goals, slightly off her line early on. It was
classic Barca thing.
Yeah, pretty routine win. Shout out to Aisha Kamara, 18-year-old right back. I think she's so good. I'm yet to see a highlight of her making a mistake. She sets up everything down that backside. She's rock solid defensively, and then her recovery pace is a joke. She is so quick, and as we know in this game, everything comes from the right side, and it's on her. And a player we have to talk about more seriously based on her age and what her future scope in world football is, because Vicky Lopez sets up both goals from the right side in this game.
Player of the match.
Yeah, player of the match at 19 years old. This is her second player of the match this year in the Liga FA. And I mean, her cross to Pina breaks the deadlock in the second half, and then her second cross across the box was to Kika Nazareth, who scores her goal, her basically weekly goal at this point for Kika as she's moved into this new 9 role. But Vicky basically creating the danger. I don't want to make many Menso comparisons, but same position, same number, same age, same ceiling. Are we looking at the Woso Yama? Honestly, seriously, she's so I'm watching a player that is so unstoppable, and her weight of pass is comparable to anyone in world football at the moment. I can't think of a player who has a better dime from that right wing. And the separation she gets on any player, whether they're close to her or not, it's like she's either going to get a penalty or she's going to get past you. I don't see her get the ball nicked from her often, and it's exactly where she wants it to be. She creates danger like no other player her age can do in any way.
I think what's interesting with Vicky, if you want to make the comparison to Lamine, that's fine. But I think that they're both products of a developed football. I think that we're now seeing footballers coming from a system, from a
Full
system that buys
pathway.
in.
A full
Yeah,
pathway, yeah.
it's a full pathway that we're seeing now where technical ability is matching up with football IQ, that is matching up with just how we're seeing players read the game more.
Yeah.
I just generally think that every generation that passes, we're seeing better footballers.
At
And
a
I think
younger age. Yeah.
yeah, and I think Vicky's a great example of what happens when you buy into a player and you really establish them in the philosophy of Barca, and then also have them have their own idiosyncrasies. You know, like she plays her own style of football, like many others. She's not a, copy paste of any other Barcelona player.
No,
but
definitely not.
But she herself, I think, has even said how the players around her have helped mold her into the player that she continues to grow to be. And I think with Vicky, I think we're seeing maturity at a young age, technical ability of a player that we'd be seeing later on in their career. I think her ceiling is very high.
Honestly, I think we're looking at I'm struggling to remember a player this age that was this dangerous, this dominant, and this controlling. Like, it looked like there was a point in that game about 50 minutes in, it's still 0-0, but she kind of just went, guys, give me the ball, and let's see some things happen. Because I don't want to make comparisons to the other world class players around them, because obviously Claudia Pina is a much more polished product than her at the moment. But if I'm choosing a player for my 11 that's going to dig me out of a hole, yeah, if we're talking from 0 to 60 minutes, I'd rather it be Vicky than Pina. Pina is such a good moments impact player and has great moments. There was a quick free kick for Pina that Kika gave to her early on in that game. Like, she scuffed that chance wide where, I probably put it down in my football record. Like, that was such an obvious Pina chance on the left side, that right foot around like curler. But Vicky Lopez is just going to be the maverick of this Barcelona side, where she's going to take games on herself. And I think about later stages in the Champions League where Aitana's getting doubled and Lexi's getting doubled and Patri staying too deep to hold the fort. And she just goes, guys, give me the ball, because I'm going to be 1v1 with a left back who, we've talked about world football's left backs, and unless Esme gets a shock move to somewhere else, she's not coming up against immense opposition, and she can take that right side to absolute church and just whip the ball across and let the Catalan feast, because she is like, I genuinely think the football world is her oyster, and there is nothing there is not many more superlatives I can say about a 19-year-old who basically looks like a polished product already, which is crazy. But yeah, again, the last thing I have to say about this game, which is classic, I say it every week nearly, another routine win in the league for Barcelona Feminine.
If we're moving on to a player that is also very young, that has a fantastic ceiling, with Linda Caicedo's Real Madrid. This was not a Linda Caicedo Real Madrid, though, was it? This was a completely different, and this is what we have. We have another game of another top opposition coming up against a completely different Real Madrid side. Levante are mid-table. They're not necessarily challenging for anything, but Real Madrid saw this as an opportunity to rotate their squad. And I really enjoyed the Real Madrid football that they're playing right now, and I really enjoyed this particular lineup. I thought the mix of young players with a core of Redondo and De Brits, who are slightly older. You have, Athenea, who's the leader on that left flank, and I really enjoyed just seeing them be very free in their football.
Is there any player in particular you want to close caption in this new look Madrid side? Obviously, players like Holmgard, like pretty much very widely known in the Woso community. Same as Bella Anderson as well, ripper defender. I want to talk about. I mean, there's two players I'm thinking of, which is Russo on in the right back position. She had a stellar game and scored a ripper goal as well. And then 18-year-old, I mean, Comendador. What a name, by the way. This is we've got to do a list at some point of the best names in Woso, and I'd like to commend the door for having an amazing game, scoring as well. 18 years old, very young talent, but clearly knows her way around, like her weight of touch and pass. She's making great inside looks, working with the Brits and Athenea really well in inverting either side. I thought they were excellent. This Real Madrid, from the PSG game into that game, knowing that you have this cover across the board. Redondo is playing minutes. Like I thought there was a point in time where Redondo wasn't going to be playing 90s again. She played a lot of minutes in the PSG game and then dropped 80 in this game. And then obviously having Caroline Weir and your main first squad on the bench to come on, make instant impact. A 4-0 routine victory over a mid-table Liga FS side. I think Real Madrid are definitely back in the books of looking for second runners-up default into the Champions League qualification slots.
I think also mentioning the fact that they did get an injury in that league, in that Champions League game. Misa's back in the squad. I've always really liked Misa. I've always thought that she was a keeper that was underrated because we'd only really seen her in the games where she's getting dunked on 6 by a Barcelona team. But I think she's your very traditional Spanish keeper, good with her feet, maybe a bit, comes out a bit too much sometimes. I mean,
she got some minutes. She got some minutes internationally.
I think that she's kind of been freezed out of that Spain team, mostly because Katakoy has obviously taken up that position.
So.
And she wasn't picked when Katakoy was injured for the Euros. It was the other keeper who escapes my mind. But I think Misa is a player now that
was it Nan Claves?
Yes,
my brain's on today.
It wouldn't surprise me if Misa now has some good form just to prove herself. You know, Frooms came in and immediately she was the number one. And that's not to disrespect Frooms. I think she's a world-class keeper. But she's obviously at the latter stages of her career. Misa's basically, she's 26.
She's definitely young for a goalkeeper. No question about that. I think this will be a good test of whether we can see a fight for number one, right? And I think Frooms is the better goalkeeper. I think she's better with her feet and she starts more attacks. I'd like to see some, if we're talking about number ones and twos, I'm talking about Bella Anderson making a case to start for Real Madrid on that left side, because as a left-footed centre half, I think the world's at her feet, especially for Sweden as well. Oh my God. Yeah. Like there are a lot of options, obviously. Eriksson and co. I mean, Natalie Bjorn's probably the right side. I think she is one of the best centre halves in the world, but there's no reason why Anderson couldn't be the left side and build into the future with what a new age Sweden could look like, even with Holmgard on the left side as an amazing choice. But obviously, Rolfo's got to move further up the pitch at some point, and it'll be interesting to see how Sweden look in some international fixtures, which we'll talk about a bit later. But again, Real Madrid on form, in form, firing, and using their depth in ways that I don't personally think they had, which is amazing. After losing to Manchester United during the week, Atleti came up against Deportivo and drew 1-1. This continues the poor run of form from Atleti. It is really weird because at the start of this season, we were talking about a globetrotter team. They were loving the league, and now the injuries and suspensions are coming. Oh my God, another red card in this game? Crazy stuff.
It's another red, and then obviously we talked about the injury earlier. I think Atleti are struggling to maintain consistency across now the Champions League and
multiple
the league.
Competitions.
I think Atleti are a really good case study in what happens when you have a really great start and you kind of bank on that start. And we saw a lot of this from Atleti. It was fantastic individual goals. It was a system that was incredibly attack heavy. You know, they had a really good core. I just now think once they are
Mm.
hamstrung, it's really difficult for them to get out of a muck, to get basically to get a move on in when they need to kind of score a goal. Basically, they have
Yeah.
Arsenalitis. It's
It's
they have the
terminal.
symptoms. Yeah, it's terminal. They have the symptoms, and I am saying that they have
So the
Arsenalitis. They
quadruple
need to be
isn't on.
scoring goals. Unfortunately for Atleti, the quadruple is not
No.
on for them. But I think this game really symbolizes the fact that they're really struggling with consistency.
A Gabby Garcia goal early on just wasn't enough. And when you get a red card, another red card,
Mm.
Lauren getting two yellows in again 50 minutes it's just becomes a question of disciplinary issues, causes the shift in momentum, and then Cabral for Deportivo equalizing, sadly not finding a winner for either side, and leaves both teams with sour taste, because I feel like Deportivo could have found an answer with 10 men a few chances later on. Atleti also finding chances, especially when copping the goal. I think you saw an expansive change in the way they played, just moving further forward, getting into more attacking positions, but nothing going their way. And sharing points at this point is pretty detrimental, because you have another team across the pond at Madrid who are in fine form, who are going to beat you out for that second place spot. But depending on how Atleti go compared to Manchester United, Chelsea, and Arsenal, the coefficient might change and they might not have the third place spot. And you might be looking at a third place in England and a third place in either Germany or France, depending on how their teams go.
I don't necessarily think like this is damning Atleti to
Mm.
anything, but I think maybe a Europa League would benefit a team like
Maybe next
Atleti.
year. Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
yeah, I think like if you're looking at Frankfurt right now, they're doing really well in being able to balance the easier
Yeah.
fixtures that they're getting from the Europa
Into
League
the league.
with their league
Mm.
form. Yeah, and they've now started to pick up a bit
But
of
again,
form.
that Europa League next year will not be the same
Mm.
difficulty as
It
this year,
will be different.
because you'll
Yeah,
have teams
yeah.
like, I mean, I'm praying it's Manchester United, but like the fourth place team in England, the fourth place team in Germany. This isn't easy slim pickings next year, because it'll test their depth and they'll need to reinvest depending on how they go across this season. The Buns, the
The
Buns, the
Bunds.
Buns. We can look at this table, by the way, as Bayern Munich sit atop the table by a whole game, and VFL sitting in second by a whole game as well. I think this,
And
yeah,
then
and then we have the pack, obviously the
the
big
chunk
pack of
here.
Freiburg, Hoffenheim, or as I like to call them, Searchy FC, Bayern Leverkusen, and Frankfurt, who sit at the bottom of the pack, which is weird because I think we had them as title challengers at the start of this year.
Mm.
But they are back to winning ways this week, as Frankfurt did beat the people's champion team in Werder Bremen with all the worldy ballers. But yeah, a 2-0. This is the most inconsistent football club I think I've ever watched in my entire life. Now I can't I struggle to remember a team that can go from being so good to so average so quickly.
I actually think it's symbolic of the way that they
Yeah.
play. You have like it's like you have the fantastic strikes of brilliance in the
Yeah.
final third, and then just like the measly, quite turgid
Yeah.
defending and midfield work. I think it's actually quite symbolic. I think Frankfurt, for all intensive purposes, are a team that are challenges on their
Mm.
day, but I think as a
Yeah.
whole make up the numbers for what will be basically a team that could influence the teams higher up in the table. I think if you're looking at the teams above them, I think Freiburg possibly and Leverkusen are probably the teams that they could, jump ahead of
Mm.
later in the
Yeah.
season when we look at fatigue kick in and
Yeah.
injuries. But I mean, Hoffenheim are for all intents and purposes, quite a consistent team when it comes to being able to
Yeah.
score. I think Wolfsburg obviously have the experience, and then Bayern are Bayern.
Hoffenheim play Wolfsburg this week, so this is a big chance for Frankfurt against Hamburg to recoup some points there. But again, I mean, the form chart shows itself. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. There is no consistency in the way they play. But Blomqvist and Anyomi getting on the score sheet in a 2-0 win early, not early, sorry, late at the end of the first half, definitely doing their jobs. Anyomi's starting to get on the score sheet a bit more in recent weeks, which is very good for her form.
I think there needs to be a lot of interrogation to FRAUEN. I think, we're looking at a player who, was one of the top goal scorers for the past two
In the
years.
league as
And I think
well.
a lot of people,
Mm.
yeah, a lot of people looked at her as not only a player for the future for, probably a team further up in the ladder or even away from Germany, but for Germany, for the national team.
100%. Yeah.
And I think this calendar year, I mean, I'm going from the Euros
Yeah.
to now. I think that she's really struggled. I don't know if she scored a goal in the league yet.
She
Um,
hasn't got a goal in the Europa Cup as well, I don't think.
no, so I think we if we're going to be looking at consistency, we have to also be seeing it from the players. And I think the players that you look towards, the Reutlers, the Freiburgs, I think
Yeah.
that they're the ones that you
Yeah.
need to be,
Freigang is definitely, yeah, like this is the year, right? She's about to turn 28 years old. She's a very high quality player. Definitely knows she's got more in her. But Rutala in a different position this game, dropping a little bit deeper, setting up, carrying the ball further forward.
I love
Yeah,
it. I love it. I think it's such a good move.
interesting. Like, I mean, for me, like I've seen her in the 10 this year, early on in the
Mm.
season, absolutely feeding
On the wing
chances.
as
And then
well.
on the wing, I actually really like her on the wing, as we've spoken about,
Mm.
her getting separation, those 1v1s. I feel like she just eats that up. She seems like such a competitive spirit. But again, it's in the 10 drifting to the right or the right drifting into the 10. I like her more, but it is amazing to see her versatility as a whole. The fact that she can drop deeper, play better balls to the faster wingers than her. She's not the fastest player, but she loves combinations. And I think Frankfurt just need to just slowly build things out of the league. I think this game this week, against Hamburg is a perfect time to break the seal of the inconsistencies, get the win, and cement yourself in third place. This is the time to cement yourself in third place because Freiburg have Leipzig, which is a team that has caused a little bit of issues in shaping other teams at the top of the table. I think Wolfsburg v Hoffenheim is a huge game, but I don't think Hoffenheim will get over the line. And if Frankfurt can mop into third or fourth place after this week, that would be a very good look for them. And I think ultimately it'll set up their form going into their European competition as well, which is huge. And I think they have to win that. I think they're definitely the favourites in that competition. I would say their only main competition in the Europa Cup are Inter or looking at someone like
I'm looking at
yeah, a
Sweden. I'm
Swedish
looking. I'm
side, yeah,
looking at
like
Sweden.
Van
Yeah.
Geheims, Hacken. There's just I think Hammarby's also in that competition, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. But they're the only teams where I'm thinking to myself like they're going to mount opposition against Frankfurt. But as long as they can keep that back four tight, they will be pretty comfortable. And I think they will be top four in the league, whether that gets them Champions League or Europa League next year. And then they have that extra experience of the Europa Cup to get them along the line next year. Definitely big moments ahead for this Frankfurt side. The top of the table, Bayern Munich, who got the job done earlier in the week and then went into the weekend and schmeized Köln after going 1-0 down. They absolutely ripped them apart. 5 goals. The reality is that the five doesn't really matter. They could have won 3-1, 2-1. They could have won 11-1. It wouldn't have mattered because the big moment of this game is Lena Oberdorf for the second time in 2 years going down from a collision with Achinska. She collides into her at about the 20th minute, and you just see Oberdorf, a player who's worked her socks off for the last year, rehabilitating from her last ACL, fall to the floor in tears. She's assisted off, and we learn later in the week that she has confirmed a rupture of the anterior cruciate ligament. It is a serious epidemic that's going on around women's football, and Oberdorf is someone who is a repeat case, and it is horrifying to watch to see a player who's serious talent in the prime of her, like age-wise, prime of her career, go down like that. Yeah, I couldn't wish it upon my worst enemy to see something like this. It's horrendous.
I think, this is a player that is very generational. I really struggle to think of a player who burst on the scene the same way Oberdorf did. And a player that isn't a striker, isn't a winger, she's a six for all intensive purposes. And I think that the women's game, really yearned to see a player of her maturity at such a young age in that central midfield position. I think it's a part of the men's game that we've seen really come to be appreciated. And I think in the women's game, we really appreciated what Lena had to offer. But I, I think now what has to come about this is Bayern obviously have to change the way that they form that midfield. I actually thought when Tanakawa came on, I thought that they were far more attacking. I thought that they actively wanted to score a goal, but it's kind of like you're getting that form at what cost? And at this point, it's cost of injuries, and it's not just Oberdorf, it's now Tuva Hansen. They have extended injuries from the past 2 weeks.
Gilles, Marmutovic, Caruso, their first 11 is getting cleaned up. And this is the thing, right? So it's games like this that don't necessarily, like, again, you're 1-0 down, you're gonna play Lena, and that's fine. 100%. And we can talk about the game where after the goal, it all goes really downhill because Bayern makes them pay. Tanakawa scores that, again, another team that scores the best time to score just before halftime. She does this beautiful La Croqueta around the defender, puts it top right. And then Eriksson, who cops a hit in the 43rd minute, she's bandaged up and then scores a header about, I don't know, like 10 minutes later. It's a beautiful header. It's amazing. Her celebration with the headband on is such a good photo. It's so mint. And then you have Stanway getting set up by Leah Schuler for a finesse, and then a weird short corner where Stanway plays this deep lying cross to Pedersen at the back post. So Eriksson and Pedersen, both defenders for Bayern, getting on the score sheet, and then Harder gets brought down for a penalty, and then she sends the keeper the wrong way with her pen. And it's a 5-1 win, but again, at what cost? This is the thing I have with Bayern, is that they're always going to win the league. They just are. Like, they have monopolized the Frauen Bundesliga, and
it's always been like
no,
that.
obviously,
this is a project.
Yeah, 100%. It's not the Wolfsburg era of yonder. My issue is that for Bayern, their goal is to get further in the Champions League, and it's players like Lena Oberdorf that are going to do it, because obviously Tanakawa is great offensively, but it means Stanway has to go deeper. It means that they're relying on different midfielders. It means they're relying on different flanks to expand and cover for all the defensive work that Lena does. And then the edge of the box work that she can score from, which is incredible. Like, without being harsh to any other sixes in the world, I would say the closest thing we have, if Patri's injured, who am I saying is the best six in the world? It's probably on her day, it's probably her. I don't think there's many better.
I would put other names in there. I'd put you in there.
But it's a different six. Like, we're not talking about the diminutive ball playing, like commanding player. We're talking about the brute who can welly one from the edge of the box and then also take on their strongest player. Like Yui is like, you could see Yui and Oberdorf playing together. That's how good they are, right? If they could complement each other, as Oberdorf can play a bit even further forward and even allow with Stanway be that 8-8, right? And I think that's what they're going to miss a lot. Again, this is relying. The only thing you can say with like a glass half full is that they've done this before. They know what it's like to not have Lena Oberdorf and rely on her brilliance in the midfield. So they have a year's worth of experience without her. But again, it is just very sad to see a team that probably had greater ambitions for this year getting massacred with injury. And now we have to look at probably refining their expectations for the year. As we move to a team that will look at this injury as an opportunity, and the injuries of Bayern Munich as an opportunity to get further up and closer, tie them up in the league. It is Wolfsburg, who won 5-1 away at Leverkusen. I mean, this game wasn't really about the score. It was about how many reds could Leverkusen get, because I mean, they were on level points before the game, but the Janu
Mm.
levels were shown. Oh my God. This was a smasher of a game.
I think, have you seen a red card be handed out quicker than this?
On a
I
goalie,
don't think I
no.
have. No. On a
On a
player even?
player,
I mean, what are
yeah.
you supposed to do? Two-footed tackle
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
kickoff? I mean, this is
Yeah,
incredible
it's
stuff. I mean
insane.
I think it pretty much is the best way to describe this
Mm.
game. It was fast, it was quick, and it was complete capitulation
It
by
was
Leverkusen.
weird as hell.
Um
It was such a like it was a game that probably looked like it had so much expectation just based on like position, place, form.
it was a
Yeah,
six-pointer in all intents and
yeah,
purposes.
exactly, but not for very long. As Pop, yeah,
No.
Pop basically like doing Alex Pop things that she's been doing for what, half a
No,
decade.
but this isn't a headed
Oh,
goal,
that's
is it? This
true.
is
It was
a
on the floor in
yeah.
open play. This is, yeah,
It was a
this is Pop,
heel. I
yeah,
was like,
Pop
wow.
development, right? Yeah, Alex
Yeah.
Pop. What? Just, I mean, is there anything she can't do? Now we have the proof that she can score with her feet. But
I needed to score like a free
yeah,
kick. Like, I needed to
all
be
right, it's being
the I
clipped.
needed to be the best at every
It's being
niche.
clipped. My God, it's going to happen. But I mean, we have to talk about Bierenstein as well, scoring
Mm.
again. She's just picking up goals when she needs to. She was pretty incredible in the Champions League match day prior. She's setting up really good opportunities for other players. She's one of those players that when she's on form, she's really hard to stop. And then when she's off form, you question why she's even a footballer. But my God, stick riding this wave because I mean, obviously there were two red cards in this game because Leverkusen thought, how do I make this game even harder for them? But they had VFL had 36 shots, 10 on target, but only two big chances, and they scored 5 goals. So you have to commend them for their low percentage chances being converted. Menga and Huth having pretty incredible games. We've spoken about Janu levels more than enough this year, but just being, if you ask me, I would say one of the signings of the season. We're looking at obviously Jess Park, Olme. I'm happy to put Iman Bene forward as well, but Janu levels, if you want to watch a traditional left back do the business with some Dutch flair on her as well, I think she could actually be one of the saviors for the Dutch as a whole in that back line. I think she can give them some more rigidity on that left side and allow them to flourish a bit further. But again, VFL being the challenger, they are the cemented, certified title challengers, and seeing the mounted injury list of Bayern, I think they probably wish they could play them again. But they will,
Yeah,
they will.
probably.
They'll have a second leg. It's an interesting situation we're set with.
Do you think now VFL put all their efforts in the league? Because I think that that's what they need to do. I feel like the Champions League is a good way to experiment with squad, especially as we have this new format. You're going to be playing teams that aren't, you know, of your standard. You might be playing a lower
Yeah.
team, but you're also going to be playing teams that are very, very good. And in my opinion, I don't think Wolfsburg have the squad, have the experience to mount any sort of challenge in the Champions League. But I do think that if they pick up a good run of form in the league, I do think with compounding injuries and probably Bayern basically having to think about Champions League or league form because they will be competing in both. I think this is the right time for Wolfsburg to really put stocks in the
I
league.
100% get you, but you can't say that when they haven't lost in the Champions League yet. So they're 2 for 2,
Sure.
with one very convincing win and one not
Mm.
convincing win. But their run of form in the Champions League isn't really an indication because last week they got bailed out against Valerenga and they smashed PSG. But their next 3 games in the Champions League are Lyon, Manchester United, and Real Madrid. and then
they're hard
Chelsea to
games.
finish. So none of them,
That's impossible.
none of them are slim pickings. And if they get knocked out, I 100% agree with you. But if you're asking me, Bayern or VFL, who's more likely to get knocked out of the Champions League? With the current injury list, I don't see Bayern getting far either. So if both of them are knocked out,
Really?
if the both of them are knocked out of the Champions League, then it is just going to be a league taster, and they're going to schmize everyone in the league, and they're going to really go for high point tallies. But if one of them makes it into the next round, look, if Wolfsburg beat Real Madrid and Manchester United, then 4 out of 6 is more than enough to get you through, 100%. And if they get into the knockout stages, they'll take them seriously because Alex Pop is here to put Wolfsburg back on the map of what their former found glory was, right? And these youngsters will get all the immense experience of the Champions League. That is exactly what you want. And when I'm thinking about Bayern, I think they're going to struggle to stay in line in the Champions League despite their win and then their humbling by Barcelona. It's a tough fixtures for them. And I think it's weird to say that they could mount for the league, but I feel like that's just shortening your expectations, cutting your nose off despite your face. When the reality is that until you lose in the league, you're not out. You're always in the race until you're not in the race. And I think with the personnel they have, the world-class players that they genuinely have, they're not going to give up until they get cut to the sword. And I think, look, playing Lyon, playing Chelsea at the back end will be indicators of where they're at. But if there's a team in that pot two that's going to give pot one sides grief, I think it's Wolfsburg right now. Liga, will be ARKEMA.
I'm like snoozing.
Yeah,
I am
the snoozy
snoozing
league.
this
Yeah,
league.
I don't know why we watch it every week, and it's really just because of Michelle. But Lyon, yes, playing Nantes, 6-1 win, no heavy rotations. Corbin Albert actually playing ridiculously good football, and it's so annoying. The Bomb in the first 7 minutes, they were 2 goals up in 10 minutes as Katoto also starting to get on the score sheet for Lyon. She's looking a bit better. When you're seeing Diani and Basha and Katoto lining up together, it kind of makes me scared that they are basically the number 2 contender for the Champions League. I know it's different opposition, but my God, when their heavy hitters are going, it's crazy stuff.
I feel like with these games, you're getting a glimpse into the best of very individual players. I think this was Diani's best game so far this year. I think, you saw it even with the PSG game. I think that's probably Corbin Albert's best game of her career. I think you're just getting glimpses into the potential of these players. And in all honesty, it's kind of it's a damning assessment of the league. I go into every game thinking that Lyon's going to win.
5,
And
6,
yeah,
7 nil.
and I think even if you look at the league in general, I don't think anyone other than the top 3 are mounting any sort of challenge to be playing actually like decent football. I think that the football standard in Ligue 1 is not the greatest.
Yeah, but I mean, it does translate to limited investment. It translates also into Menso, sadly, as the league for the men's side doesn't really translate to much competition, as PSG are the European juggernauts now that they are still. But I mean, I was watching Corbin Albert play a different style of game. She's usually further forward. I saw her in deeper pockets of space. She plays this amazing ball to Chawinga, who scores later on in the first half. And then they did cop a goal. So they are copping goals. They aren't getting clean sheets every game. But again, those one goals are really just a miss and little blunders and blips because, I mean, Lindsay Heaps just didn't clear the ball and Renard's out of position. She's not the fastest. She's not Wendy Renard of 15 years ago. This is a 34-year-old Renard who is not the same player and out of position. And then Elisson was the girl from Nantes who scored. Diani scores in the 58th minute. This was the most defenders disconnected goal I've seen in a while, as she just runs near post and no one runs with her. And then the most impressive goal for me was the 6th goal, Tarsian's goal, who, I mean, again, her header is literally in front of the goal. It's easy, but it's the way it gets set up because the ball from Basha to the back post looks so average. It looks like such a trash ball. And then Wendy Renard just heads this ball like the perfect looper that just goes into the crossbar, bounces off, and then hits Tarsian in the head. Like Tarsian is just like a stone. Like she's just a rock there that scores the goal. Like if I stood there, it would have gone in. But Wendy Renard, that header across the box, I don't think there's many players who can do it better than her, and she's been doing it for over a decade. The amount of goals she scored as a centre half is actually a joke. And then she took the penalty as well, right? So she got a handball in the first half from the corner where she headed it into someone's hand, and then rips the penalty as well. So setting up one, scoring one. This is an late stage Wendy Renard moment where she's just doing what we know her to do and has done for so long. And again, a routine League Lyon win with their usual suspects standing up week in, week out. As we move to a team that is not standing up week in, week out, but they are winning. They have won. They have beaten Strasbourg, a 1-0 win for PSG in the league. And it's due to a super sub, Kanjinga, coming on, doing the business. Great strike as well. She came on in the 54th minute and she scored in the 58th minute. So instant impact.
I think this is the best way that you can respond to a pretty disappointing midweek game. I think, we see that Paris FC won 6-1 over their opponents, so they leapfrog PSG. At this point, you have to question whether PSG are going to think about maybe focusing on one thing, because I think much like the other teams that we talked about earlier, it's just really difficult to balance both. I think PSG have a lot of problems. I don't think necessarily it's just to do with the performance. I think there's a cultural problem there. I think that there's a real lack of buy-in. I think their coach is a bit dumb. Like it just tactically, I think tactically he's really inept.
Yeah.
So I think basically what we're looking at is a PSG team who have players who in other situations I would think Kanjinga would be a fantastic player for any other team. I just don't think that they're standouts in this pretty lackluster PSG team.
It's definitely a good question. I don't know if it's more tactically inept, but even knowing your best 11, knowing your best striker, knowing the players who you want to give the chances to, I think is such a huge thing. I think it's something we really don't think about a lot in games. We think about a team gets 35 shots, but who's taking those shots, right? If it's pot shots from your midfielders or your defenders, then you're not doing them right. You're not setting up the chances there because those players don't get those shots on the training ground. If we're watching Arsenal women's play and Emily Fox has taken 3 of your 14 chances from the edge of the box, Leggy will be happy, but
I'd be so happy.
But a lot of fans won't be, right? And that's what I mean is that you want the usual suspects, the players you know to bag goals. Alessia Russo not setting up chances, scoring the chances. And you don't want a player like Ajibade running the touchline. You want her in the middle as an aerial threat, but also with her feet finishing chances. And I think PSG need to be doing better than 1-0 wins over Strasbourg. They need to, and again, they come up against Bangsa 4. That's fair, but that's coming. If you want to succumb to possession and give the other team possession and work off a press, that's the football you have to play. But again, it's hard to set that precedent when you've got players that are better than the opposition, but you don't know how to deal with the extra defensive efforts that are going to come from the opposition that come up against you to try and steal a point or steal 2 points from you. The Serie A Femminile, that had some crazy results, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to preface this by saying this is a very close league.
Yeah.
I mean, we have
it's early
Roma,
on.
it's early on, but it's very close. In terms of technically, I've seen the best I've seen from the Italian league. I've been following it since its inception a few years ago. So for me, it's like basically seeing your child grow up. At this point, it's a toddler, and it's like just learn how to swear. And it's just like completely, it's now like it's just swearing all over the place because you're just getting crazy results, right? I mean, Fiorentina in a crazy match against Milan. 4-3 with a late Dottier, one of the Dottiers scoring.
Trigva Dottier,
Yep.
But they had two. They had 2 in injury time, 2 in the late 90s, 94th and 97th, to go from 2-3 down to 4-2 up. That is a crazy, crazy result for Fiorentina, who are definitely going to, again, do a lot of shaping. I don't know if they're really a challenger, but
Them and Milan, this is pretty much a best of the rest situation. I mean, Milan at the start of the Serie A kind of project were kind of seen as one of the hegemons for the league, but I don't think they've lived up to that. They have lost a lot of players as well, but they've brought players in.
yeah,
I think
definitely.
Fiorentina have some good players. I think that it's basically become a little bit of a retirement home or a stable place for Italian players to play or players to come
Yeah.
in.
Shout out
I
to
think
Yanogi though. Baller. Straight baller. Great chance.
yeah.
Great equalizer as well. Like to put the team on the back like that. I don't think Trigvadottir's goal happens without Yanogi's presence up forward. She's doing immense work. I think that last 10 minutes of that game was just pure adrenaline, pure roller coaster stuff. But Roma, 3 from 3, goal
Yeah.
difference +7. No one's really near them at this point, and it's early on. What do you think of Roma's chances for the league?
I think Roma are probably one of the best teams Italy has produced as a collective. I think Roma has really cemented themselves as the Italian team, despite Juventus obviously being the one with the trophy cabinet full. I think Roma are the team where you have the young talent. I mean, Dragoni is a fantastic player, obviously on loan from Barca. I think that she's a player for the future for Barcelona, but I wouldn't be surprised if Roma put an effort to keep her. I think,
You can tout her as one of the players of the season. She could be looking at
yeah,
trying to.
basically,
She's
yeah.
probably gone over there as a loan deal, going, "I'm going to get player of the season here, so you can't sell me. Or if
No.
you sell me, you're going to make bags off me, and then I'm going to be the talisman in Italy." What a player!
I think Corelli is also a fantastic player. I keep shouting her name out, but Giuliano
Oh,
is still remains
a
just
baller.
one of the best center defensive midfielders around.
Yeah, she
I'm
just
so frustrated she didn't move,
Yeah,
basically, because I
I
think she
can't
could
think of a
probably do
bad
better.
game that she plays. My thing
No.
with Roma is that, I mean, especially in the Champions League, their
Mm,
defensive record is pretty lackluster. They
yeah,
never
I
keep
agree.
clean sheets. But in this league so far, I mean, obviously they copped the late consolation.
Mm.
Probably would have been better if they kept it 3-0. But to have only 2 goals conceded so far in 3 games is, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's better than I expect them to play. And as they come up against Inter, this will be a huge top 4 clash. And Inter love scoring goals. They are a goal heavy side. The firepower they have up front, it kind of just has all the hallmarks of a game that's going to be similar to the Fiorentina Milan game that we've just seen.
Very similar position in terms of Napoli and Inter in terms of their positioning on the ladder. I think they are going for that second spot. I think if we move on, Lazio kind of put themselves in a tricky position now, losing late on to a really, really poor Juventus that is sixth in the
Yeah.
league, coming off of a Serie A Cup win earlier in the year. And then obviously winning last year, they've had a shocking start. I
Yeah.
mean, a very, very late penalty by Girelli, which
Yeah.
it was a penalty in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I mean, 1-1 drawn, one lost one. It's not a great start for Juventus for the
No,
title race.
100%. But you can't ever rule out Juventus, the Italian pedigree they have and the stronghold they have over this league. Obviously, Roma have hit red hot early on, but I mean, Juventus, whenever they come up against the top 4, they will be treated as if they are not an off-form side. Girelli is still the dangerous firepower that she is, even at the ripe young age of 36. But it's an incredible league that has ultimately endless possibilities at this point, because not just like from like a total phase that it's immature, but we're earlier on in the league than the other leagues so far. So we're not 10 games in. We haven't created the distances yet. Whereas Juventus could have a big run of form in the next 3 weeks and then turn things around and start looking like a title challenger again. And you're not out of the race until you're fully out of the race. That's what
I
I
would
like to
know.
say here.
I would know.
Yeah.
Quadruple, Arsenal
Exactly. Yeah,
quadruple.
exactly right. I'm setting you up and you're knocking them down. But we will definitely look at the Inter Roma game in greater detail next week as a top 4 clash, because I mean this will basically be the decider of who's super serious about this league. but both of them having alternative competitions to worry about with Inter in the Europa Cup and Roma in the Champions League. I mean, again, it seems like Roma are going to make a run for the league, and the Champions League isn't really their bread and butter with how they've been going so far. But that's all I really have for the league. The first, our pilot moment of talking about international fixtures. Woo, here we go. Look at the kits around. Yeah, we're setting up the new kits. These are some of mine. I have way more international kits in my personal collection than I do club kits, whereas Leggy's are just obsessed with Arsenal and then has moments of other players here and
Hey,
here.
and then I do have a lot of international kits. I have these ones up. My England one fell down earlier. I
Yeah,
can't be
that's
bothered putting it
true.
back up.
Yeah, that was
But
endemic of what's about to happen in one of the games. But let's talk quickly about squad announcements. So
just a bit of quick
obviously,
hits.
what?
Just a bit of quick hits.
Oh, this is, I mean, emphasis on quick hits, but this is some crazy news. So Marquee, Leon, and Jenny back in the squad. Jenny Hermoso back in the squad for the first time since, I mean, one of the most horrific moments that I was actually in the stadium for, which is crazy. But like again, Marquee hasn't been in the squad since prior to that World Cup.
The last time she was in the squad was in 2022 during the Euros.
Yeah, that's insane. We're nearly looking at like 3 full years ago. Like, it's insane. And Esther obviously left out, but then I just think it's probably more of a coming of age moment. I think this is Spain setting up for the next World Cup. This is their last haul and run. This is probably the last rendition of the Jenny Muppy era, the Avengers era of Spain, where they're going to go for this 2027, the Nations League coming up as well that they're in. And I think there's just amazing moments ahead for both of them. And I think they see the opportunities that Spain have ahead of them.
So I take this from a kind of moral perspective and then the perspective of the player. So as a player, Muppy is inarguably one of the best centre backs in the world, and she makes any team better. I have 2 points on the moral perspective. I'll keep them short. I think one point is, how do you reintroduce yourself to a squad when you purposely made the political statement to exit yourself and isolate yourself from it? She obviously had her own personal issues going on. I know she talked about feeling there was obviously a mental strain in terms of going into an environment that just completely devalued your value as a player and as a person. You obviously then have the political, I mean, if you want to put it lightly, shitstorm that was Marpi and her behavior last year. I don't think that we can justify that or anything. I think we don't know the whole story, but from what we do know, it is something that was dealt with in the league.
Yeah.
I don't think that gives
the RFEF do an amazing job of keeping everything under wraps in their own way. And ultimately, it is one of those situations where, like, I hate doing the directly proportional graph, but how good you are as a player versus how much you've fucked up in what you've done is pretty much an inversely proportional graph, where if that was a 17-year-old who wasn't known and did it for Barca, they wouldn't be in the squad and they'd probably get shipped off to some other team probably early on in the year. But Muppy Leon is, if you ask me, the best left-sided centre half in the world and has been for a very long time. And she did a thing that I think is morally absolutely disgraceful, disgusting. I have very little time for Muppy as a moral arbiter of any sort of like values-based football because of what she's done. But that being said, that doesn't mean she can't play football. And I think it sets a precedent for, she wants to be a serial winner, and she is a serial winner despite what she does. She is a serial winner. And I think when we're looking at this situation, she sees the opportunities that Spain has ahead of her and she wants to win things. And I've stopped looking at Muppy Leon the same way post this incident.
I think the Jenny thing, though, I think that that's a win for football. I think that she
100%.
was
Oh,
completely just completely undermined. I think her character was completely crushed or
yeah,
attempted to be crushed by a federation that
mm,
was deplorable in their behavior.
yeah,
But I think her value as a footballer was completely undermined.
yeah,
I think Spain did struggle in the latter stages of the Euros because of her
mm,
lack of that finishing. I think
yeah.
that she's a finisher. I don't think she starts. But
She's a match winner as well.
yeah,
She can bag goals. She's a good cover. Esther looked wrecked by the end of that tournament. They were relying on
and
her so
she's
much.
basically injured
Yeah,
for Gotham anyway. So
exactly.
it is a move that I think will bring a lot of benefit. I think a lot of players will be really happy to play with Jenny again,
Yeah,
and she's been killing it in
yeah,
Liga MX with
yeah.
Tigres. So yeah.
100%. And I think it's going to be an amazing ovation when she's back on the field. I think she deserves it. I think people sadly know her because of this situation
Yeah.
and not for her prior work and prior pedigree as one of Spain's, I believe Spain's all-time goal scorer, right? This is not, we're not talking about some random striker who was victim of a disgusting assault. We're talking about a player who has leaps and bounds of experience for Spain that is coming back to give the last ounces of football she has left, which is amazing. As we move to their direct opposition in England, Katie Reid getting the call up, which is
But she doesn't
pretty
play because
impressive
she's out.
because she's out and Grace Clinton is out for an unknown reason. Yeah, capitalized unknown, which makes no sense. But the main thing we really want to talk about is Maya Letitia because I mean, as much as I despise her as a footballer, she has had an unbelievable, I'm going to say year, to be honest. She's been amazing for United last year and has kept that form going this year. And Weigman has watched her play at centre half for a year and say, nope, you're not
No.
playing there. I see you more as a right back.
That's a
Yeah.
terrible accent.
Yeah,
I'm
I can't do it.
shocking.
I can't do a Dutch accent or like I can't do it. She said that Maya Letitia is, I see her more as a right back.
Mm.
What do you think of this?
I think Serena Wiegman, this is a classic case of veganism, right? I mean, this
Veganism.
is no, veganism.
I heard
I,
veganism.
it's
There's so little beef in this England side that it's veganism.
No, I think this is a classic case of Serena Wiegman basically just recognizing the fact that she has a team, she
Mm,
knows that team, and she's not going to change that team. And she sees Maya Letitia in the system that they play as a right back. Now, do I see her as a right back? No, I think there should be a liability in the right back because I think her strengths are centrally. I think she's very good at progressing the ball. I think she'd be a great add-in for Leah Williamson, who's
yeah,
still out with her injury. I also think that there needs to be a bit of stability in that core,
yeah.
especially defensively. And I think she can offer that.
No Millie Bright to rely on. This is the perfect time to instigate a right centre half with leadership. Leah Williamson won't be there forever, and even if she comes back, she's still injured. She's still not the same player. But ultimately, who are the right back options for England at this current moment? I don't see it as Maya Letitia because I don't see the recovery pace being right, and a team like Spain comes up against you and Salma Paruello versus Maya Letitia in my head is a hurdler hurdling over Maya Letitia to run rings around her. But ultimately, Serena must have other plans. And I mean, we've seen her use that three at the back. We've seen her have Lucy Bronze run up and down. I don't know how long she's going to be doing that and whether she'll be there for 2027. But I mean, Lucy Bronze could be 55 years old and people will still play her until they have another option. But I don't know if it's Lazelle. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's Neve Charles or Esme Morgan. I don't know what the plan is for Serena as a whole. She is someone who makes decisions that only she knows and only she believes in, and it's emphasis on she believes because her results show that it doesn't really matter what she does personnel wise, the system holds up for her.
I think another player who could possibly go into that fullback role is obviously Taylor Hines. And there's been,
Ah,
yeah.
yes. Taylor Hines, man.
I think,
No, sorry, it's Taylor
oh yeah, sorry,
Hines.
yeah.
Taylor
We have a switch,
Hines.
obviously,
Yeah.
like naturally when you switch
Yes.
nationalities, you switch impersonation and accents as
A
well.
hundred, 100%. I mean, she started the
Yeah.
month as Taylor Hines, man, but now she's Taylor Hines. And it is, I mean, suffered some interesting discourse online. The
You
nation
got
change.
involved as
Um,
well.
I did get involved. I did get involved where because someone online, I can't remember who, and you will never be remembered who, but you said hot take anyone would switch nations if they could, which is just, I mean, borderline racism as a whole. It is just racism to say that, like, oh, if Ewa Payor had the option to play for, I don't know, England or Spain, she'd do that. Like, it's just a complete disrespect of the idea of nationalist pride, the idea that players grow up in a place and want to play there. Like, obviously, Lily Johannes could have played for the Netherlands. She chose the US because she also, like, that was the decision she made. There's no right or wrong decision, but there is no way to criticize. Like, you can't criticize every player for doing it, but you can't criticize players for not doing it. Karchaoui could have played for Morocco, sure, great, but also a player like Sydney Schertenlieb has American parents. She plays for Switzerland. You don't see her moving anytime soon, and she's a player who's a youth academy graduate for Barcelona, who's now moving through the ranks and going to be a big part of Barcelona's future if I'm certain. But the idea that nation changes haven't happened before and will only happen if you're supposed to do it is just ludicrous. Just accept the fact that people have different nationalist pride, and they're usually decisions that are made and taken with a lot of thought and effort, and it's not just a first click of the button. Oh, I've got a better team that wants a better country that wants me. I'm going to move.
I'm a bit chauvinistic about this. I do think that there is
Yeah.
a real like there's a heartfelt meaning towards kind of choosing your country if you have the opportunity to choose. I think
Are you saying you're a pick it and stick
yeah,
it
no, I do think that Taylor Hines obviously she played in the England youth ranks.
youth setup?
I
Yeah.
think then she made the decision to play for Jamaica, and I think that decision came from not necessarily, I mean, I don't know her, right? I don't profess
Yeah.
to understand her thought process, but I think it came from
Mm.
the fact that she realized that her England time was going to be limited, if any, and she could see a pathway for Jamaica. I think Jamaica, in all intents and purposes, despite the controversies and the lack of investment from the Jamaican team. I mean, I still think they're not fully professional over there.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think it offered an opportunity for her to play and lead. And she was the face
Yeah.
of the Reggae Girls, if you like. And I thought that I think she let the Jamaican national team down, the fans, but I can totally understand why she did it. Like any opportunity to
Mm.
play for a team like England, the two-time European champions, I get it.
Yeah.
You play in England, that counts for something as well. I just think
How does it feel that she had an amazing year as a captain for Liverpool and didn't get a call up, and now she's sitting on the bench for Arsenal getting peanut minutes and she gets called up straight
I
away?
don't think they're peanut minutes. She played two, I believe, two either near full 90s. I think
But they weren't her
she
best. They weren't her best. She
no,
was
I think
good,
she's
but they
been
weren't
no,
her
but I
best
think she's been
football.
playing fantastic. I think she's
Yeah.
been playing really well. In all intents and purposes, if she hadn't uh not converted, but if she hadn't
The
uh
conversion is complete.
yeah, if she hadn't said that she was going to play for Jamaica and then did play for Jamaica in yes, the one game,
Yeah,
then in all intents and purposes, yes, she would be a pick for England.
a hundred
Um,
percent.
but this is an opportunity she's taken up. We don't have to agree with her, but she's done it.
Yeah.
Good luck to her.
Yeah,
Hope
and
she has that form for Arsenal.
yeah, exactly right. And I think with the injuries, I think she basically saw that right back pocket
Yeah.
open up with Lucy Bronze's leg. Um, Probably not ever going to be the same again. But again, she's also probably eyeing that 2027 World Cup. Lucy Bronze will be a year and a half older. This is a perfect opportunity for her to slot into that right back spot and be the answer, because a few of these players are going to be a changing of the guard, and there's going to be a young crop of players for 2027 who want to break out and be the best of the best in the best teams. the Nations League, right? So the Nations League doubleheader. We're looking at Sweden v Spain and Germany versus France. We're going to look at Sweden v Spain first. Obviously, some good memories go back between these two teams, but ultimately, I mean, you're looking at this Spain squad. I mean, there's not really anyone left out other than Patry in that top tier. They've got Mariona, Esther, Pina, Vicky, Aitana, Alexia. I mean, you just have the pick of the lot to choose from, and a new coach as well, new manager, Tome. Goodbye. But this is, I mean, this is an interesting game because ultimately Sweden are a team that have on any given 90 have the capacity to beat anyone with their sheer power, height, strength. Olme in her top form, JRK, Rolfo. This is top tier talent across the boards. Stina up front can cause havoc on any defender in the world. But what are you predicting? What are you feelings coming up?
This is a game for me that I would have hoped to have been the Euro final, honestly. I think that these two teams were the teams that I looked forward to watching the most.
Mm.
And that's not just because they are filled with players that I love. It's also because I think that the style of both teams is really interesting. They're very different from each other, but I think that they complement each other in the 90. I think you're going to see a game that is intense, that is physical, that is technically really great. I think both teams need to be technically fantastic to be able to compete in this game. I do think Spain will win, but I don't think it'll be easy. I think it'll be very similar to how they played against Germany in the Euros in the semi-final. I think there will be just a little bit of magic from one of their players, and that is all they need, really.
I think it's going to be more convincing than you're saying because, I mean, I think without Musovic, Sweden will struggle to have the same leadership at the back. Obviously, Bjorn, Eriksson, Holmberg are great defenders, and Sandberg as well. They'll have a good back four, but the midfield battle, relying on Angadal and players of her age and caliber, it's hard. It's really hard to go up against the best midfield in the world. I'm thinking three. I'm going to say 3-1. I think Stina will get a goal because Stina usually does in the blue and yellow, but I think this will be a convincing win. And I think Vicky Lopez will have her mitts all over this game. Even if she comes off the bench, I feel like there's something coming for her as an impact player.
I think the fact that it's two legs is interesting. I
Yeah.
wonder whether, Spain kind of do one very quickly and then kind of let the second game go by, maybe a draw.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they go out and they try to get the win early on in the tie. But I think for the next game, honestly, I think this is where the double game head will rear its head because I think it's very interesting to have two teams now that are arguably the teams that we felt most disappointed in the Euros.
Yeah, I feel like in their respective stages, 100%. I feel like they definitely could have got a step further, whether it be Sweden in the final or in the semi-final at least, and then Spain winning the whole thing. But I think, yeah, 3-1, 3-1 for the first game. And my prediction will change depending on that first game. But in my head, it's 3-1 the first game. And then you're right, it'll ease up. But I'm still thinking 2-1 to Spain. I just think they will show their class and levels. And I'm just excited to see the midfield again. Even without Patry, I think this is a chance for Leia Alexandri to sit in the six and show what she can do from a more attacking position. The other big game, Germany, France. This is so interesting because Julia Gwynn is back. Oh,
Yeah.
she's back in the frame. This is a crazy Germany side with some great names and great personnel on both sides, really, actually, as you look at France's front line with Matteo, Malard, Katoto, Cascarino still knocking about, and then Fella and Diani. I mean, I don't even know how you choose your front three, to be honest, whether it's on form or pedigree in tournaments. But this game could really go either way when you're looking at the personnel. You're looking at how many players could impact the score sheet. But I don't know. I think Wook Ball is great to watch for our eyes. We're very optically more like they've got to put the ball in the net, but the way they pass the ball around the expansive play without Kanak, it'll be interesting to see what their defensive line looks like. But I think Camilla Kuva, I would love to see her start for Germany. She's had a great first quarter of the season with Wolfsburg, but I'm going to say for the first game, I'm going to say a 2-1 win for France. I'm feeling Katoto Diani special when they're on in that blue kit. They're just fully fit and firing. It's hard to stop, and I just don't see Germany getting the same firepower against that back line that we know can do the business.
Interesting, because I mean, I'm completely bought into Germany. I am obsessed with how they play. I love the people that Rick puts up in the positions. I think he knows his starting 11 very well, and I think that the introduction of Julia Gwynn will just put this team to a completely higher caliber of football. I think France is still very inconsistent. I do have issues with that back line, but I also think that France have also the capability of scoring goals and a lot of goals. I think we saw that with the Euros. I think this will be a tighter game. I think it'll be tighter out of the both games. And I do think Germany can get it across. I think over the two legs, they'll probably win 2-1.
Interesting. So yeah, we have 2-1 either way. I think the defensive argument for France is fair, but I think it's based on experience, not on capacity, because when you're looking at Bashar, you're looking at Lacroix, you're looking at Mbok, their best is more than good enough. I don't know if Sangare will start, but Sombath definitely could. And having Sandy Baltimore as a cover, and Gioro as well, if she starts as well, and Karchawi, that the capacity for that middle three to be basically three box-to-box players will give them so much more defensive cover than we can actually look at a back four and be like, oh, well, if Schuller and Serchi and Clara Bull are running at you, you've got no chance, right? But those midfield covers, I mean, these teams play great games against each other. I'm hoping for a goal fest, but I think 2-1 either way for both of us is probably very good predictions, as we say that when we never get our predictions right. The friendlies, the Matildas games, we have the kit up there, the Australia v England and Australia v Wales. I think we beat Wales pretty comfortably. I think we'll beat Wales.
I have no care. I just hope that Wales bring their best. I'm expecting.
Who is their best? Tell me who their best is.
Hannah Kane.
Yeah, Hannah Kane.
I mean, Jess Fishlock is retired now.
Yeah,
so
exactly. This is the ghost of Fishlock's past right now. Like this is all they've got. Like they'll work hard. They'll give us definitely a physical battle.
I don't know who us is. This is not me.
Us is me. Us is me. Us is the Matildas. I am till I die a Matilda. But I think we'll beat Wales. But England is the big one. That is the marquee game. Sam Kerr back in the side for the first
and Courtney
time.
Vine.
And Courtney Vine. Whichever one is more important to Australian history, we'll never know. But look, this is Montemuro's, I would say, his biggest test so far under the Monty regime. This would be a huge win. If this is a draw, this would be a huge draw. But ultimately, playing against Serena Weigmann's European champions, this is a big, big moment for the Matildas to go there and set the tone really about what kind of Matildas we want to be incoming for the Asian Cup, incoming for the next bout of World Cup qualifications. But I think this is a very, very exciting game. I think, look, I'm a believer. I'm a Carlos believer. I think we're going to beat Wales. I think it's going to be 1-0. It's going to be a smash and grabber. I don't think we're going to play very well. But against England, look, do I see Sam Kerr getting more than 40 minutes? No, I don't, because I don't want her to risk injury. I'd love her to play 90 and then get injured and then they don't have her for the year at Chelsea. But I want her for the Asian Cup and I want her to win us the Asian Cup. So I'm thinking if we score against England, I don't think we're going to score first. I think they'll get the first, and it's most likely going to be someone I hate, not someone I like. I think we'll lose 2-1. I think it'll be a 2-1 England. Oh, but actually they get a consolation. Let's go 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1 England. They love a late goal just to put the icing on the cake. It'll be a rerun of the 23 semi-final in that way. I don't think Sam will get the goal, but she'll be a part of it. But again, without Mary, our creativity, our flair is just not the same. And I'm waiting for Mary to come back and show Monty what he's been missing in that midfield or up front, really, depending on where he wants to play her.
I think I'll be quick. I mean, as a Tilly's hater, I don't want to put too much emphasis on them. I think, it's a very interesting time for the Matildas right now. I think, Joe Montemurro is a coach that I heavily admire, and I think wherever he goes, he makes the team better. I think it'll be very interesting if the Matildas go out in a 3-5-2. Yeah. Which I think Montemurro wants to focus on. I think he's focusing more now on possession style football. I think he wants technically very good players. I think Mary Fowler is a part of that, and unfortunately she's injured. So right now I think they're hampered, especially centrally. I don't know whether England is the team that Montemurro would love to have faced early in his tenure. I know that he obviously had those games earlier on against Panama, which weren't that successful, but we're dealing with squads that aren't the same squad that he has now. I mean, the introduction of the European players does make a difference, and players who have worked with him before. But I do think England will be a challenge. I think that they will play a style of football that I think Australia in the past has relished in trying to defeat. I think of the game before the World Cup, the friendly, the infamous Leah Williamson trip to have Sam Kerr go on to goal.
Yes, correct.
I think it will be similar, as you said, to that World Cup game, only because I think the circumstances, be it different in terms of where the squads are in development stages. But I think if we're looking at talent, if we're looking at depth, and if we're looking at just time with the players, I don't think Joe has it right now. Do I think that he will have it in the future? Yes, because I think he's a fantastic coach. But I also want this team to implode on itself. So, I hope that they get absolutely demolished by Wales and England.
Yeah, lovely. That's so beautiful. So, yeah, I mean, you could tell Leggy would change nationalities just like Taylor Hines. I
don't even ascribe myself as a part of the till we die shenanigans.
No, she's a till I Cyprus. Sorry. The Benchwarmers Awards. This week, we have some very different takes across the week, but do you want to start with your never bench again?
I think we talked about this earlier in the pod. Yeah. I want to spread this across two players, Sarah Geordie and Vicky. If we're spreading it across the two, are the two players that you just can't bench again. Sarah Geordie, now I think, faster than I think most players in that Barca team, have really molded herself to the style of play, to that position. And I think Vicky, just being a creative outlet, being someone that you can rely upon for goals, I think she's kind of irreplaceable at the moment.
She's a demon. She's a serious demon. And I mean, I've kind of gone the same route just across a different country with Lena Oberdorf out of the side now for an extended period of time. I think Tanekawa comes in the frame as my never bench again. I think the midfield mix with her in it is different. It probably isn't the desired outcome, but she is an immense attacking outlet. She can score from outside the box. She can use both feet. She can spread passes out wide. Clara Bull loves her. She's a ripper player with a ripper ceiling. I think if Bayern were to do a treble of some sort, I think Tanekawa would have to be looked at as an Asian Player of the Year. And shout out to Hamano for winning that, actually. But I think she's robbed Yui. But but also she did win a domestic treble, so I can't argue with that. As I move on to my super sub in Kanjinga, as we mentioned it before, the saviour of Paris after a very tough week. I did wish she took her chances in the Madrid game, but very, very solid to come on and do the business against Strasbourg. Definitely huge win. As we move to your super sub of the week, which is
Tanekawa. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. It earlier. I think her impact in that game was profound. They really got the ball rolling when she came on. Even though they didn't score for the first 20 minutes that she was on, there was a dramatic shift in their attacking and the angle in which they were trying to attack. I think they were far more open to going centrally. I think Tanikawa offers just such creativity in that 10. I think she's also a very traditional 10, despite being in that traditional kind of Asia ball style of overly techie and creative. I think that she's also really molded herself well to the German game. I think she doesn't get pushed off the ball that much, which I really appreciate.
Definitely strong core, strong body, stable.
But I think, completed the most dribbles in the game. I mean, had over 50 touches. And this is a player who also scored, obviously. And that's what you need. And that's why she's my superstar.
Yeah, 100%. Would you like to do your come on the pod, the ultimate bench warmer?
This one's easier. I mean, if you've been on Woso Twitter this week, you've seen Charlotte Vol and her insane. You have red cards, and then you have red cards that happen in the first minute, and you haven't even locked into the game yet. I mean, you're just tune the game, and the next thing you know, the keeper's gone manic. Yeah. But complete just sweeper keeper attempt gone wrong. Just put a team in a really precarious predicament you don't want to be in, with 89 minutes to go in the game.
Definitely not.
I mean, I'd like for her to come on the pod and just tell me what happened.
What was going on in the brain department, which is, I mean, I actually wish I mentioned this. This isn't my ultimate bench warmer come on the pod award, but shout out to the player who was on Twitter who absolutely went at their opposition for injuring them and said, like, you are the reason I'm injured. You're the reason I'm going through rehab. Like, that is a worthy of come on the pod right there. That's like ultimate like head loss, ultimate head loss award of the week to whoever that was. But the ultimate bench warmer come on the pod award for me is the entire virtual assistant referee review team at the Bayern campus for just getting that decision wrong completely. The ball on the line, the game on the line, Juve, who've worked their ass off, deserved more. VAR team, if you want to come in and explain to me why you're worthy of a full-time salary for sitting in Stockley Park in the Bayern campus telling me that ball's in and not out, I would love to hear it, and we are more than welcome to bring you on the pod. We can we can even do a Zoom pod, and you don't even have to fly over. We'll just set it up the same way we've got now. LEGGY'S NWSL watch.
This is more just a quick talking point, just a quick hits. Biggest game of the season so far, Orlando.
The playoff
Washington.
game. This is the games or not the playoffs, but like getting ready, setting up all the teams who are making it, which is crazy stuff.
I mean, it's still very tight. But I think this game is probably the biggest game. I mean, you have an Orlando team that is finally coming back into form after having an atrocious mid-season patch. And it got me questioning whether they were even going to make it into the playoffs. But they've basically been carried by and just the Marta, just the Marta magic. It's been incredible.
The GOAT. The absolute GOAT. It's insane. Like, she comes on and she guarantees either a goal or an opposition own goal.
It's fantastic. I'm completely chuffed. She came on at halftime, which is earlier than usual, but she came on and she had an immediate impact. I mean, basically, Washington took the lead twice. Orlando then struck back within 5 minutes for both goals. So, Washington didn't want to lead, basically. Yeah. And then at the end of the game, you saw a Marta penalty converted, and it ended 3-2 in a great 3-2 game.
So LCL lost.
Yeah.
Washington Spirit lost.
Yep.
And Leon's never going to lose, but nearly a Kanglican trinity of L's. That was nearly perfect, but. Yeah, what an amazing game. Spirit, who are cemented in playoffs, were looking like the challengers for Current. I think Current are probably the team to beat, and they don't look like being beaten anytime soon.
No, and I think another team that has been a bit inconsistent recently is Gotham, and they've needed the Cincinnati Messi, which is Rez Lavelle, to come back with an inch perfect.
Emphasis on the city Cincinnati Messi. She's a machine. Oh my God, that free kick. Yeah. Oh my days. Top bins. Beautiful goal. To beat Louisville, right?
No, to draw. And look,
Oh,
I'm
draw,
usually
yeah.
yeah, look, usually I hate a draw. Usually I'm
Yeah,
anti-draw, but I'm a Gotham appreciator, so
yeah,
I was happy that they
yeah,
got the point.
yeah.
Look, this both teams are now kind of just above that top eight spot. Gotham's on
Mm,
36 points, Racing's eighth on 34 points, and then
yeah.
ninth is Courtney Vines' NC Courage, which is
Courtney's courage.
which I believe is on 32 points. So it's still very tight. I'm happy that both teams, got a result. I don't want to see NC Courage anywhere near that top eight, just so I can bag them about it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. I mean, even with like the opportunities that lay ahead. I mean, this is the thing I do like about the NWSL is that even if you're in eighth, the things that can happen in these playoffs in a one-off game are crazy town.
Gotham did it. Gotham did it from there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right. It's not like a league where you're guaranteed from the top. As much as I think current are definitely going to be
yeah.
playing in these finals, but yeah, I just think it's a crazy, crazy result and getting Lavelle saving points, getting into positions where I would love Gotham to do it again. They're my like not my like I don't have an NWSL team, but if we're going for anyone, we're going for Lavelle and Marta. These are the two players I want at the depth of the NWSL, definitely.
But Angel City, they farewelled two legends of the game, CP23 and Ali Riley, but they did the most Angel City thing that you could do, and they lost, basically. I mean, it's like they kind of go out there and like purposely try to play with their weak foot because they look terrible. I mean, they have nearly 60% possession, 11 shots on target, and an XG of 0.6. I mean, at this point,
Jesus, from
it's like you're
11
kind of
shots.
yeah, you're kind of asking to just be completely mauled by Moultrie, right? I mean, this is
Yeah.
it. Olivia Moultrie is one of the best young players. I hope she leaves the States because I actually think she's quite good. And but Portland completely rolled Angel City. There were a lot of players crying at the end of the game. I don't know whether it was because they were saying goodbye to CP and Ali Riley or because they just know that this is another just failed campaign for Angel City.
I think they were. I think Angel City were just waiting for Thompson to come out of the stands and come back on the pitch,
She
and
was there. She was there.
yeah, she
Yeah.
was there. Yeah, get the cast on and get the kid on and go for it
Yeah.
and start Iron Manning people.
And
But
yeah.
yeah, last one. Any other teams to talk
Last one, this
about?
is great. This is a classic leggy pick,
Yeah.
SD Wave
Ah,
against
here we go.
Chicago.
Your
It's
favorite, your
not
favorite manager in the
No,
world.
yeah, exactly. It's not about the result. 6-1, who cares? It's about Jonas Eidevall pissing off another female coach. This man has an agenda. I don't know. I can't prove it, but he does. I mean, basically the Chicago coach put him on blast in like the most millennial way possible. Like she just put him on her Instagram stories and asked him to explain why he put one of the SD players into the Chicago huddle when they're 3-0 up
Oh,
already.
I did see
So the
that. I
game
did see that
stopped.
clip.
The game
Yeah.
stopped, and he's gone. Go over there. Go over there. And she's she's spying
So
in.
good.
I mean, God forbid a poor Swede try to get an advantage over a team he's already 3-0 up on.
I
But
mean,
no.
I think that's. I mean, firstly, I think that's football heritage right there. To put an opposition player in another team's huddle. I mean, if it was Bev Priestley, she'd stick a drone up
She's
and
stick a
she'd put it into the other huddle. Like that's the way to do it. But ultimately, I think Edeval is looking at the most innovative ways in which he can control a game how he wants. I mean, look. San Diego Wave are winning games. They were 6-1. They're 6-1 up with the huddle. This is what I mean. We need good tactics. We need like football isn't a place for the faint-hearted, and Jonas Edeval is definitely not faint-hearted, and I love it. It's
I
it's
don't
it's beautiful
I don't
football.
know whether I'd want to be put on blast by another coach or I'd want to be like abused by Jonas Eidevall. Like I don't know which one I'd want more, like
The
harassment
weirdest either
or
or of all time. I really hope there aren't other people in the world who are having this like moral dilemma. I think it's just us.
Yeah, it's just
But
me.
shout out to Jonas for
Yeah,
providing ultimately nearly weekly content for
yeah.
us. You just keep doing your thing. Just stay away from the managers. My favorite segment of the week, the What Would Kang Do? Number eight, as we are flying through these. This week I had to change my whole plan for this week as we have to talk about the interview. So she did an interview, Bloomberg TV, showing the main highlights as she talked about basically all the things that women's football needs to work on, right? So we saw this interview together as she said so many correct things and then ended it with probably my favorite quote of the week and my dad's favorite quote of the week after I showed him. He's been using it all the time, which basically gave me the inspiration for this What Would Kang Do, which is we're going to talk about the interview first. So obviously Michelle Kang said that there are reasons why women's football is behind and needs more investment. And she brought up some very interesting stats that are fantastic. So talking about athletic research dedicated to men, 94% of it is men and 6% includes women, isn't dedicated to women, and needs to be addressed. And women are 6 to 7 more times more likely to suffer ACLs than men. And then when you're looking in a football specific realm, she didn't say this, but I'm telling you that it's actually closer to like 18 to 24 times more likely based on the statistics in women's football, because AMAB and AFAB athletes are built differently and they are ascribed training programs that are based on historical data on men. And all these things that Michelle Kang was saying was right about the biological differences. I can excuse the terminology. She doesn't have to say AMAB and AFAB. Like, I get it. She's old. But she basically kicks it with an absolute lack of investment, and that has to be done. And then she says the best thing of all time, which is that she is crazy and ambitious. No one's arguing that, by the way. You are crazy and you are definitely ambitious. But the kicker was, I can't invest in brackets in women's football if I only have one team. You talk about profitability and the size of the revenue. You cannot afford that level of investment, which is absolutely necessary. You can't do it if you own just one team. But if you have multi-teams, you can centralize some of the resources and do it once and make it and once you do it, make it available to everyone. Okay. Firstly, yeah, what do you think of this quote? Yeah. Well, what do you think, Leggy? How are you feeling about hearing that?
Look, I think Michelle Kang knows that she needs to continuously justify her presence in women's football because it's basically being undermined by her own football teams. I mean, you watch her 90 minutes of London City and you turn around and you go, she invested in that? I mean, yeah, so I think she's coming at it from the perspective of like omnipotent capitalist, right? Like she believes in something morally, but the introduction of her economic platform and portfolio is what skews that morality, and that's kind of our problem with it.
100%. And so firstly, I want to say that I don't know if you can see it in the screenshot I've put there, but Caroline Graham Hansen has liked the post. And that makes me really sad. Makes me really sad. But also when you first watch it, look, I don't see Caro as a person that's so inept, like so in depth with
what's she doing on Instagram?
She's not watching. I don't think she's watching the whole clip. So I think she just sees someone who wants to invest in women's football and she's just liked it as a vehicle so that there's more money, but I don't think she watched the whole vid. So, Caro, I still love you. You're still my favorite Norwegian, no questions about it. But today's What Would Kang Do is basically the top 5 analogies I could make to this quote about Kang basically describing her late stage capitalism described as passion for Woso, right? So how to make something that has not much to do with you about you and your profitability and your ability to make revenue, because you have to have more stake and claim in the industry. So I built 5 analogies, or not 5, I built 4 analogies and 1 short story because I'm a weirdo. But we're going to start with number 1, which is my Angela Merkel, the former German chancellor. As we all know, she famously in 2016 brought in 1 million migrants, and as a plea of cosmopolitanism to change the world framework on how we deal with asylum seekers and immigration. But if it was Kangela Merkel and not Angela Merkel, it would have been, I can't bring in only one immigrant to fix the immigration crisis. I need 1 million of them to enact cosmopolitanism. I am doing good by targeting the masses and solving an issue of demand around the world. Yeah. So Kangela Merkel, being the Kangsmopolitanist that she is, being able to solve issues around the world by making it about her. I'm the savior. I'm doing the best for the world because I'm helping myself, which is ultimately a nice way of looking at the Kang. So I'm maybe I'm not doing my job the same way, but this is a better way of doing it, which is talking about relationships. So this is what I've called teenage Kangst. So I can't commit to one partner on my own. It's just not feasible. If I date multiple people, I can centralize the emotional labor and share the admin costs so everyone wins. I think that is the only way I can take this late stage capitalism. It is only about her, and everyone else. If you want money, it needs to be about the person who's investing money, not the people who are getting invested in, which is, I find, hilarious. This one is strictly for Leggy, as a massive Whovian, if you guys don't know. I've made the new Doctor Who.
Oh, wow. We already have a new one.
Yeah, no, but I'm not talking about the new Doctor Who. I'm talking about Dr. Kang.
Yeah, sure.
So I can't save the universe if I only have one TARDIS. You talk about timelines and cosmic balance. I need multiple parallel realities just to break even. Dr. Kang only believes in equality when it can be managed through a galactic holding company. Why regenerate once when I can franchise the Time Lords? Centralize the sonic screwdrivers, baby.
Yeah, you know what? We've already done the multi-doctor thing, right?
Yeah.
We've done
The Day of the Doctor, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of. And I think, what Kang really needs is basically to be able to have an eyebrow Capaldi moment,
Yeah, oh my God.
Her final, like, I did it, and then she kills us, basically.
Yeah, Peter Kangpaldi. It's
Yeah.
definitely a Peter Kangpaldi moment. But the next one I have is Kang making music. So musical Kang, which is either Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar, or Kang Nan. I can't be one artist. I have to make a label, sign multiple artists, and share the drummer throughout different bands. I could make one vinyl per band or per album, but I could also make 4 per artist with different aesthetics and combine the vinyl albums to make a picture together, so you buy 4 of the same album for the pretty picture. Synergy is power. By the way, I'm not calling out Taylor Swift for making 4 vinyl aesthetic albums. It's just the best way. It was maybe the most Michelle Kang moment for Taylor Swift when she made 4 of the same vinyl with different aesthetics. But ultimately, this led to me deciding that I could do a 5th analogy, but I thought I could just do an alternate reality. Like, this is a bit more Doctor Who vibe, but this is what would have happened if we had a good Michelle Kang. We had a morally just Michelle Kang. And this tells the sad story of a different life of what Michelle Kang could have been. And I feel like I need like different lights on me. I need the black bars coming down, but I'm going to do this as dramatically as I can. But Michelle Kang stood alone in the boardroom, staring at a single crest on the single wall. One team, just one. No global network, no shared scouting database, no investment, no bulk discount on training codes. Just one squad of women, one pitch, one dream. The accountants warned her, Michelle, it's impossible to care about women's football without at least 5 logos or 5 teams in 5 different time zones. But she didn't listen. She poured her time, her money, her heart. That's right. This Michelle Kang has a heart into one club. There were no synergies, no centralized resources, no PowerPoint slides explaining how women's sport was a high growth vertical. Just players laughing at training, staffs doing double shifts, a fan who actually knew everyone's name. Investors stopped calling, journalists calling her naive. Somewhere, a rival CEO whispered, She doesn't even have a portfolio. It's just passion. Years later, her club lifts a trophy. The confetti fell, but the profit margins didn't at all. For one glorious moment, Kang realized she'd done something terrible in the eyes of capitalism. She'd made football human again. The next day, a venture capitalist called her to ask if she'd consider scaling the emotional connection. She hung up. End of story. So that is basically not what would Michelle Kang do. That's what I would do if I was Michelle Kang. And that is the end of our podcast. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok.
Call us out.
Yeah,
call us out on TikTok.
Shout out to all our TikTok fans and haters out there calling Leggy silly for hating Cooney Cross and then telling me that ultimately, I mean, I did call her a headless chicken, but I still love Kyra. But thank you for all the support and lack thereof on TikTok, because we love you guys and we adore your comments. It's beautiful. Follow us, rate us 5 stars. We are going to pump out weekly Woso content every week. Thank you all so much and have a great week.